with the not eating, I'm just going to eat whenever I'm hungry, which
Hmm.
sometimes it's like 66 days. I'm very overweight at 9, and I'm not just overweight, but I actually have breast on my chest. Eventually, 14 rolls around and they're still there. So I go back to the doctor and I'm like, hey, it's still here. Like, why hasn't it left yet? At the end of the day, they just said, we don't know. Go get it cut out. Here's the number to a good surgeon. Have fun. From the age of about 14, I started this journey. In a month, I lost 60 pounds. I started fasting.
When they read this, it's about psychology. It's about the structure of life, having muscular gain without doing physical activity, clearing your skin, and just having the ability to potentially live forever.
Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching The Healthy Alternative. Today we have a special guest. Mikey is here with us, and I'm really excited to have you on, man. We definitely made this happen because it's like midnight where I live, and it's like noon where you live. But I wanted to have you on because I randomly came across your Instagram page, and I was just like, because of like, I guess my own personal journey with health and wellness, I can see vibrancy and health in other people. And I'm like, yo, this guy is an absolute specimen. Literally, I put that in my comment. And I was like, I want to bring him on my show. And I just want to see what you got going on because at the time I knew nothing. So anyway, thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, Chris James, thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for staying up, sacrificing a little bit of sleep just to be here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And really, it's my honor. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. So, all right. Um, First of all, I guess we could just start with you have a particular lifestyle that you live,
Mhm.
and I would like to I usually like to go back to like the beginning, the genesis, and talk about like what inspired you to make some of the changes. So like where was your life before you became Mikey Breathes? Like where were you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, whenever I was a kid, I was pretty much left alone. I was like semi an orphan, and but I went to go live with my stepdad. He would work all day, so I'd be at home alone pretty much from the age of like 7 all the way to about 16. And during that time, I would feed myself, so I'd eat junk food and candy and and cookies and cakes and all that stuff. Well, the chemicals in like the Little Debbie's and the Star Crunch and everything else back in like the 90s and like early 2000s jacked my system up to where I grew breasts at the age of about 9 years old. And that was the beginning of my journey. I noticed like, hey, I'm very overweight at 9, and I'm not just overweight, but I actually have breast on my chest, 9,
Mm.
10, 11. So my stepdad took me to the doctor to find out what's going on. And the doctor's like, well, this is normal. It's called gynecomastia. It should be gone by the time you hit puberty. Like it'll go away. It happens in most boys. Like 50% of boys it happens to, but it always like leaves after 13, 14, something like that. Well, I trusted them. I waited patiently, but every day in school was grueling to walk around, seeing all the other boys with flat chests. And here I am doing my thing. Eventually 14 rolls around and they're still there. So I go back to the doctor and I'm like, hey, it's still here. Like, why hasn't it left yet? It hasn't even just not left. It actually got bigger.
Mm.
So my chest got bigger and I'm like, yo, doc, what's going on? And then they said, we don't know. But they ran ultrasounds, they took blood tests, they did this, they did all this stuff. They charged my stepdad all this money. And at the end of the day, they just said, we don't know. Go get it cut out. Here's the number to a good surgeon. Have fun. And that at that point in time right there, I felt like I trusted you. I waited years patiently, believing, holding on to your words. And at the end of it, you say, just go get surgery and get it cut out. At that point there, I was like, F this. I'm gonna figure this stuff out myself. And from the age of about 14, I started this journey. I ended up losing like in a month, I lost 60 pounds. I started fasting. All at the age of like 14, 15. I started fast. And this is before the like internet. So I didn't
Right.
have the internet. There was no YouTube to look up videos or download pamphlets or guides or eat. There was none of that. I lived in the country on a one road in a one road neighborhood with no internet. So I just started figuring this stuff out myself. And that's kind of like where it all started from.
Wow. Well, I think
Yeah.
I'll just say this. In my opinion, I think that's kind of the best way to go about it, man. Like you're figuring it out on your own. You're allowing. anecdotal evidence, I'm a huge fan of it. Like, what are you personally experiencing? And then kind of building on your own knowledge base. I did that for a long time. And I also find a lot of people who teach at a really high level when it comes to like health, wellness, and things of that nature have a similar story. It wasn't like they were trying to follow someone else's path. They were kind of learning it on their own. And then when it comes to the gyno, like my brothers, my siblings, my family, the guys, the men in my family, I think we all kind of suffer with that to some extent. My dad told me that when he was younger, he got a shot, like a booster shot,
Hmm.
and he was a slim boy. He was a small boy, is what they said. They gave him
Hmm.
the booster shot to make him bigger, and then his hormones got all jacked up after that, and I think he
Yeah.
passed that on to us genetically. So,
Exactly. 100%. 100%.
and,
I would 100% agree with that. I do think that people are being tampered with genetically for different purposes because here's the thing. Now, this is more of a conspiracy series side of it, conspiracy theory, excuse me. This is more of a conspiracy theory side of it. But imagine having a bunch of skinny boys, young boys, but then you could just shoot them with some super serum for Captain America. They're also poor. They have no other option, so they maybe have to go into the military or workforce. Now you have a grunt force of strong people who can work for you and go longer, faster, and everything else.
mm,
I 100% agree with what you're saying because I have incredible muscular development and I don't work out. Now, some of it I do attribute to the guide and the way I live. I don't work out. I tested myself. I can run for 23 miles straight. I'm not even a marathon run. I don't even run. But I
mm.
tested it one day. I can just run for 20 miles and never stop. So I do think that there was something from the past, and the evidence of it or the effect of it is the gynecomastia. Like, okay, you get the muscles, but you're also like the price tag on the clothes or like the tag on the clothes is the gynecomastia. And I think
Mm.
that that's part of it, you know.
Interesting. With
Yeah.
with I'm curious with your running, did you just simply stop? Because if you can run for 20 miles, did you just stop or did you actually get tired at that point?
I got bored.
Okay, that's what I thought. So you
Yeah.
basically have infinite run. Like on Call of Duty, they've got like the infinite run period.
I guess so. Yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah, infinite. I tested it one day because with the fasting. Now what I do, I don't consider it fasting, but I'm just not hungry. So
Hmm.
fasting is like even if you're hungry, you're saying no, I'm not going to eat. Just like the run, I'm going to stop whenever I'm tired. With the not eating, I'm just going to eat whenever I'm hungry. Which
Hmm.
sometimes it's like 66 days. I'll still drink like some juice here and there. I might drink like a liter of juice or something like that, but I'm not replacing it with like meal replacements or smoothies and nothing like that.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to go that long. On whenever I was doing 14 days, I was going eating every 14th day. I asked myself, you know what? Let me see if this is actually effective. And I just went to go one day. I just like start moving, just doing like animal movement, pull ups, push ups, sit ups, running, climbing, swinging, doing all this stuff. And I'm like, how long can I go if I don't stop? I went from like 11 o'clock or like 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that to about 10:30 at night. And I'm like, bro, it's almost dark. Like like I want to go to bed. Like I'm not tired, but I want to go to bed. So
Hmm.
I woke up the next day and I continued it again. And I went at like another 9 hours. And I'm like, I'm just never going to stop. So I just ended it there. But I was 14 days in, no food, and one day I went about 10 to 11 hours. The very next day I went another 9 hours. So it's almost like this infinite energy hack, and that's kind of like what's fueling this lifestyle. I'm like, okay, cool, this stuff is possible.
100%. Man, I love the fact. Well, first of all, I guess it's part of your lifestyle to do all this kind of this testing, but I love the fact that you do that because I've read stories about people who kind of basically have a lifestyle similar to yours. Once again, we still got to get into the weeds of it, but from what I'm
Yeah,
kind of gathering, there was a lady in, I believe she was from Germany. This is like more than 100 years ago. Someone was writing about her. She fasted or she just well she just didn't eat, so it wasn't
yeah,
fasting. She just didn't eat at
yeah.
all. She could run outside in the cold. She could lift way more than any normal woman. She basically had the infinite run as well. So I
I like
know
that.
in the comment section underneath your videos people are always being people, right? But because of the research I've done, I'm like, no, unless he's done the same research and he's just lying and pretending, like this is all possible. I've read about these types of things, so it's interesting to find someone who's actually able to do it because, it's kind of like one of them things in the modern time you don't see that as much, it seems like.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people might flip out on me now because of the day and age that we're in, but I hit a point now that like I don't even research anymore. I'm just because I feel like the research is so limited and it's so like antiquated. It is old. Like I'm over here going days and running without eating, and all the research says, well, you need, your body weight and protein and amino acids, and I'm like, I'm done, bro. Like this stuff is actually limiting me and holding me back. I'm over here growing bigger muscles without eating, while the research says you need to eat at this many calories. So, that might actually piss a lot of people off, but like I'm getting the thing that's crazy now in 2025 is people want the research and the documents, but they don't even want the results. If you
Exactly.
produce if you produce the results, like, hey, look, this is what I produced from doing this way. They don't care about what you produce. They want well, show me their research, show me somebody else's. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm the one conducting the study. This is the results. People don't even, if you show them the results of how to do this way, they don't even care. All they care about is this. Because I think this is what I think it is, because all the stuff is like a psychological conundrum. They want to grasp and be the holder of some sort of intelligence because it feeds their validation need. Because if the person has the result of it, then they have to go do something, and that takes time. They want to be validated now, so give me the research and I'm going to regurgitate it.
Hmm.
But a lot of people on the internet regurgitating and parroting each other's information, you ask them if they do it and they don't even do it.
Right.
Oh, breathing through your nose, okay, doing this, okay, doing that. Yeah, but do you do it? Well, no, I haven't yet. But so it's weird. I'm really picking apart these comments, and like, because I'm going in unbiased, because these people are vicious, man. These people, like, they are just, oh my, it's crazy. So I go in with an unbiased heart, like, hey, well, are you doing the very thing you're telling me to do? No, but you should. If you're not doing it, why are you attacking? So
Yeah.
it seems as if people want, in 2025, they want to be the Prometheus. They want to hold the flame, but they don't want to become the god,
Mm.
which is it's really backwards. You don't even care about having the results and being able to go 66 days without eating and having infinite stamina and everything else. You just want to know what are the words to say to sound scientific so people think you're smart, so you can share something and parrot it, even though you won't even apply it. And
Mm.
that's what I found. So it's crazy, man. Anyway,
That's ins-
sorry.
no,
Little
no, no, no.
tangent.
Hey, this is your floor, man. This is 100. No, seriously, like 100%. You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I have found. Well, I think one of the reasons why people are drawn to our brand and what we do is because we, like I said, personal experimentation, anecdotal evidence. We don't. I'm not reading Dr. Jason Fung's book. Like I literally just picked his book up at the end of the year. I've been teaching fasting for, 8 years, maybe more. Um,
Yeah,
so all of my information comes from personal experimentation. And at
exactly.
the end of the day, when no one can tell me that what I'm doing or saying is wrong or whatever, because I have my own personal experience with it. Whereas if you're regurgitating other people's information, it's really easy to sway, I think, you know?
Oh, 100%, man. Like, here's the thing. Like, if you go to school, you can have book smarts, but when you get out to the field, let's say that, somebody's studying to become an electrician, right? They
Mhm.
take a vocation class to become an electrician. I don't know I don't care what you learn in that class. Once you get your boots on the ground and you go into the actual field and do the wiring and the harnessing yourself, it's not going to correlate. Like you're not going to truly understand until you experience it. And
Mhm.
that's what's happening nowadays. Like everybody wants to be book smart because it takes very little effort to be able to pair it. So if
Mhm.
let's say that Dr. Jason Fung, right, or even Chris James says something, Chris James has a book and it says like, here's his scientific method at which he came to this conclusion, right? Somebody can just read that, have no foundational backing of it, but they can say it at a party and everybody's going to think that they're smart.
Mhm.
But then whenever you look at their life, they're not even doing the very thing that they're conveying. They're just talking about it and around it. And it takes no, I guess the word would be like no accountability. It takes no accountability to parrot somebody else. Because if somebody said, well, do you do that? Well, no, Chris James says it. Now all the responsibilities on Chris James to produce it. And if Chris James fails, oh well, I didn't believe that anyway because that was just his book. I was just parroting what he said. I was just
Yeah.
because he said that. So it's like a fair weather fan. Like it's the it's the benefit of sounding smart without the responsibility of maintaining the lifestyle. And I
Mhm.
think that's the limbo that I'm seeing people in. Either they really want it and they're going all the way, they don't care about it, and like I just want to smoke cigarettes and not be healthy, or there's haters on the internet who want to poke and prod and they don't actually want to show up every day and be accountable, but they want to sound smart. And that's what I'm noticing. That right there I feel like will hold people back from immortality. It will hold them back from like buffs, muscle buffs, and infinite stamina. So it's not so much what do we do, is it working out or fasting or eating, it's how are we approaching it psychologically. Like, how are we looking at this? Because if we're looking at it wrong, everything from that point on is going to be skewed from our perception. But if we
Mhm.
look at it unbiasedly, we have unlimitedness inside of the realm of that topic. And now we can do anything. We can actually run 10 miles off 1 grain of rice if we can look at it that way. But if not, then we'll always see like, okay, I need 5,000 calories before my marathon, and then we'll be stuck in that modality. So
Man, whether you can or can't, like whatever your belief is, if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. That's it.
exactly,
We have
exactly.
a machine that literally is infinite. Like it's infinite, just like nature. It's abundant. So the limitations on it are what we place, and I think it's really hard for people to like get understand that just because we are in a prison of our own design. Like we live in a world where you talking earlier about like the research. Like it's the gold standard is the double blind placebo. If you don't have that stamp, it's not real. And somehow we, as the laymen, have adopted that ideology, and all of that is manipulated on a much higher level by those who are looking to control us. So I think abundance was one of the first things that I found when I went on my journey and I'm looking at nature and I'm thinking about all the issues we have. It's like, well, if we have abundance, we have food, if we have water, and if we have power, which are all provided for us for free by the earth,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
everything else is secondary. Like it's life becomes so much easier. So they want to make sure that we don't really understand that. And I think part of that is making sure we don't see the abundance in ourselves. So,
I would 100% agree with that. 100%. It's also a language thing. Like if whoever writes the contract owns the language, and if people can't speak the language of the contract, they will always be displaced on a lower position. So who's saying the language? For me, like you were saying, the laymen are adopting these ways of the universities and everything else. Okay, here's the double blind placebo meta study, yada yada yada, right?
mhm.
When literally just 4 years ago, there was experimental medicine that's being released and mandated and mandatory that they're saying, hey, the studies say that this has a 98% success rate of terminating the illness. I won't even say the word, the V word inside of a human. But it turns out it didn't just not do that, but it was killing people. We live in a day and age to where they were saying that Lucky Charms is more healthier than eggs from their studies. The very things that
Saw
people are
that.
quoting, show me the studies. Your studies say that Lucky Charms are more healthier than eggs and
Yeah.
vegetable. Like what are you talking about? So like unless you approve those studies
Hmm.
and you say that, okay, yeah, because scientists said that these studies are real, you have to approve all the studies. And until a person comes to the conclusion not every study is correct, so going and seeking a study almost means nothing nowadays,
Hmm.
then they have no right to demand any other studies, because from the same studies of people saying protein synthesis and everything else, those same people also say Lucky Charms is better than eggs and steak and fruits and vegetables. And
Organic food.
also, this experimental drug will help you when actually turned out to kill many people with myocarditis and stroke. I know family members who had strokes immediately after. Some people died, some people got paralyzed.
Mm.
Those same studies paralyzed those people. So like it's a double standard if you just want to believe some studies, but not all of them. Like it's a you know
Yeah, you
you,
can't have it both ways.
you
That's
can't have it both ways.
and the thing I think that bothers me about it the most is how quick people are. They just go back and forth. Like, okay, so there's some studies that said that it's 99% safe and effective, right? And then 2 years later, well, the science has evolved now, and so now the science is saying that it is causing, a little bit of death here, a little bit of clogging over there. It's like, but the science has evolved, and that's just the way it goes. It's like, no, why isn't there such a large subset of people that knew for a fact that this stuff was bad to begin with? And their science, their opinions haven't changed. Like from day one, I was like, this stuff is poison, don't take it. You know?
Exactly.
History
But
has already shown
science
us.
says science it is now a god. Like whether people want to admit it or not, they are worshiping a god because they say it as if itself was an entity. Science says.
Hmm.
Science doesn't have lips. It doesn't have a voice. It doesn't have a body. What do you mean science says? Oh, you mean Dr. So-and-so who's getting paid on the back end from this says?
Yeah.
Who works with General Mills cereal to like say, hey, Lucky Charms are more, healthy than eggs or whatever. So the science has no face, but if we can, Jesus said this, and I'm not even Christian, but like this is a very powerful thing. He said, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. And I don't think that pertains just to Jesus. I think whatever is lifted up, Kim Kardashian, BBLs, plastic surgeries, Arnold Schwarzenegger, steroid use, whatever is lifted up, it will draw all men unto them. If we lift up science, if we have Neil deGrasse Tyson, if we have this person, if we have that person, it doesn't matter. They're like you were saying, the science evolved. We don't even believe the same science we believed 10 years ago.
Right.
Now they're saying the Big Bang didn't even happen. Like there's scientific proof the Big Bang was not even the beginning of the universe and it may not have even happened. 20, 30, 40, like I think like 100 years ago, they didn't even believe in black holes. This is physically impossible.
Right.
The fact that science changes shows that no one should seek that out first, but to conduct it themselves and then take that versus waiting for somebody else to find it. If not, then there's no advancement in any field. The science isn't something you live by. The science is something that you go to seek and know yourself, and then you apply it because you are the science. And people, if science is seen it as anything else but you're worshiping a false god, a false idol.
Scientism. Yeah.
Exact scientism. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm 100% on board, man. I I realized that, and I used to be, man. Science class was my favorite class in school. Science and like gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's people like me who really I like. And when I was younger, I wanted to be an inventor. So I loved science and I loved engineering and I loved all that stuff. And I think when you have a high passion for that type of stuff, when things don't add up, it matters a lot to you. Like
Yeah.
when the science doesn't make sense logically, I'm like, this bothers me. For example, when you look at all the scientists of the modern era, like the most popular scientists, they're all theoretical scientists. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
the ones that are the most mainstream. It's like they're just doing stuff in their head. They're not even putting a nail in a board. They're literally just, well, this theory and these numbers and if that. It's like
Yeah. And these
that's not
particles. Yeah. Yeah.
what are we talking about? Like, what happened to
Yeah.
the old school guys who, Tesla, who would actually do stuff in a laboratory, see some physical thing happen and record it? So,
Yeah.
one thing I want to do is I wanted to learn more about like what are some of I know you had mentioned the gyno you were able, well, I'm assuming I could tell you were able to eliminate that, right? What are some of the other issues? Did you deal with like obesity? Did you have I don't know, memory issues or like because I did like my memory started fading, my
Mhm.
hair was fading. Like, what are some of the
Mhm.
things you've been able to overcome?
Oh man, that's Chris James. Thank you so much. That's a great question. Okay, cool. So personally, gynecomastia, smelling bad, like having body odor, pimples on my face, on my back, on my legs, sweating constantly. I don't sweat anymore, like profusely. I still sweat here and there a little bit. And then for other people, psoriasis, diabetes, migraine issues. I had a person, she had migraines for 20 years. She would take medicine and nothing would work. So she no longer has migraines, chronic migraines after that. PCOS, diverticulitis. Man, the list goes on and on and on. Memory issues, cognitive function, helping with dyslexia. So many different things. Personally, the first were in me. Bleeding gums, eyesight, restoring eyesight, so people don't have to wear corrective lenses for
Hmm.
myself and others. I grew my hair back. I didn't have any hair here in the front, and I was completely bald, and I ended up like growing my hair back there.
Okay.
That was one of them. I had a bald spot in the back that filled in. Um, of course, the gynecomastia, irregular periods. So people who would like skip periods, they were infertile or they'd have severe cramps. They couldn't get out of bed, and they would just have like heavy bleeding, and they were immobilized from it. Now they have like regular light period or normal cycled periods, every 28 days or so.
Hmm.
Light bleeding, and they can still move. The list goes on and on. Those are some of the major. Cyst just dissolving and completely falling off. People who have cysts for like 5 years, 10 years, completely dissolving, just out of nowhere. They just wake up one day and it's gone.
Mm.
I believe cysts are like little mini tumors in a sense,
Hmm.
but those have been some of the most powerful things. Just that list right there,
Oh
and this
yeah.
is usually within the first 3 months. All of it, like none
Okay.
of none of those effects took longer than probably 2 months to occur. Skin
Okay. So
pigmentation, yeah,
yeah, I
can
mean,
be.
well, 90 days is actually a pretty significant number as it relates to, just like the cycle of the body. Even getting rid of parasites, they say, you need 90 days just to get rid of the parasites, get rid of their eggs. And I actually have found, this is just in my personal experience, that most, if not everything, can be resolved within 90 days. It just depends on the person and their level of commitment to the process. But yeah, that's interesting. Obviously, the corrective lenses thing. I'm gonna ask you more about that because I'm always interested in what people's experience has been with reversing myopia or I don't know
Mhm.
whatever. There's many different eye issues. Um, so I'll just ask this blatantly, like, do you believe outside of, let's say outside of like disfigurement, do you believe there's any disease that cannot be reversed?
Um, as far as disease, right? Disease,
Hmm.
I would say the, the fact that your body has the blueprint inside to create you. If you were born after, if the disease came after your birth, you already have the blueprint inside of you, I believe, to restore yourself back to your former self whenever you were first born. If the disease happened within the womb, I have not seen, and everything I've shared so far is what I've actually like witnessed, the testimonies, what have actually happened on paper, and you can visually see the person is better.
Hmm.
I have not witnessed, let's say that somebody was born with Down syndrome. I have not seen Down syndrome reverse or change by tapping into the blueprint inside of the genes after birth. So far, any disease that's happened after birth, yes, it does. I personally believe it does not matter what it is. It can be reconstructed, regenerated, reformed, as long as the person has not had an amputation. If you've had something amputated, your thyroid, your gallbladder, your appendix, if you've had anything amputated, I haven't seen limbs and organs grow back. Liver, yeah, of course, but I haven't seen someone regenerate fully their spleen. So as
Hmm.
long as there's no amputation, it was after birth, I believe anything can be healed. And I've healed almost every single thing. So yeah,
Well, I mean, I think that's encouraging.
yeah,
Like there's a lot of things that people develop later on in life, whether it's early childhood or, young adulthood or whatever. And oftentimes I guess when you're born with something, you just kind of adopt it as a part of you anyway. Like it's just that's the way I was born. One thing that I do have a problem with is the narrative that when it comes to like let's say autism, for example,
mhm,
a lot of parents and people are led to believe that that their child was born with autism when we actually see autism happening after getting certain types of medication. And
exactly, yeah.
You know, it can kind of, I think it can kind of confuse people.
The
Um,
science.
the science is very confusing, but and then, the problem with the science is that it's very one-sided. There hasn't
There, yeah.
been testing done on these like childhood vaccines, in the same capacity that you would test, other medications. And then of course, they've got the safety net around them where they can't even be pressed, they can't be charged, or they can't be held liable for damage that does happen because, the government protected them. Apparently, that's supposed to be going away now that RFK Jr. is in the White House, but we'll see.
Wow, that's huge. If so,
That
like, if
it
there's no accountability, why would somebody trust it? Like, okay, forget having the government come in and solve our problems. I've never been that person anyway, because again, I grew up by myself, pretty much like an orphan, having to take care of myself. Like, if you're waiting on the government to ban red 40 in all processed foods, like, you're so behind the eight ball, like you are so far back. You shouldn't even be eating junk food in the first place. So why are you lobbying or wanting the government to take this stuff out of the food? Like, everything it's in, you shouldn't eat.
right.
So to have the government regulate, let's say, medication or vaccines, you most likely shouldn't even be taking those things in the first place. Man, I
Mhm.
have so many things I want to say with this, but like, we have to take our own accountability. If the pharmaceutical companies are not being held liable for any damages that occur after you take their vaccine or medication, what in your mind gives you the confidence to take that? So, it to me, and I want to be as loving as possible. I love everybody. Everybody's amazing. Let's just float on clouds and like be happy all day. I'm with that. But at the end of the day, if a person does not take personal accountability to objectively, with critical thinking, see, hey, if they're not held accountable if any damages occur, that means there's a possibility that damages might occur. So therefore, I need to make a solid judgment on what I want to do next. If a person doesn't do that, it kind of, man, I don't want to be mean. I'm not trying to be mean to what I'm saying, but like, if a person doesn't look both ways before they cross the street, there's most likely going to be one less person on the earth.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's taking people out. So like, our job is not even to get people. This is okay. This is the best way to wrap it up. Our job is not to get people healthy. Our job is to get people aware enough so they can see through the deception and the lies so it doesn't take them out and kill them.
Hmm.
So we're not even here trying to help people lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds, here have some abs, here have some better skin. We're trying to save you from wasting precious energy on not having cancer, not having heart disease, not having diabetes. The energy that would have been spent on keeping you alive if you have those conditions can now go towards your cognitive functions. So now you can elevate and raise up and see through the deception. So now you're not making those poor choices and now you can live longer.
Hmm.
Like, we're trying to give you energy so you can see, so you don't even have to go down that road. Okay, do I take the vaccine or do I take this vaccine? You don't take any of them because you're healthy, because you know how to heal yourself if you have a disease or a sickness or a virus or whatever. Every virus can be killed. There's nothing in life that is unkillable or indomitable or infinite in a sense. Like, nothing lives forever. So it doesn't matter if I've cured, another thing I've cured, herpes. People with herpes virus. They had herpes outbreak and everything else. I gave them some different plants and stuff like that, completely cured them up. Every virus, every disease, every bacteria has a lifespan. I know they say that viruses aren't living, but you can break it up on a molecular structure. Nothing is immortal. Everything falls to something, everything bows to something. And if we give people that power of how to do it, now they don't need what's being dished to them, the pills, the pharmaceuticals, the injections, the surgery, the whatever, because now they are the God within themselves. They are life within themselves, and then that keeps them alive, being life.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't think
Yeah.
anything is insurmountable. One of my favorite sayings, my beliefs is that for every problem there's a solution. It's just
Yeah.
it has to be that way. There's no
100%.
unsolvable problem. Like that's weird. So, um,
A funny thing is with that, I actually, and this is like counter cultural, I actually like parasites. I like viruses. I like sickness. I like disease. Now, this might sound crazy. People are like, what the heck is this guy talking about?
mhm.
because it exposes my vulnerabilities. It exposes my weak spots. If I got parasites, it's not the parasite's fault. It's my fault. Why was I a hospitable host that my body is so weak it allows foreign intruders to come in and repopulate and become an overgrowth? So I see it to expose inside of me my own weak points so I'm able to grow stronger. Oh, snap. Now parasites came. Okay, bam, bam, bam. Oh, I was sick this day. Like every sickness for myself, I don't see it. And I haven't been sick in probably like 4 or 5 years, but like every time I get sick, I will take that and I will start studying my sickness. Okay, where was it from? Was it phlegming? Was it coughing? Was it this? What time did it come? Did it come when I woke up? Did it come right before I went to bed? Was I eating? What did I eat? And I'll start taking metrics on it, and then I'll identify this sickness. It's almost like a wanted poster. So like here are the descriptions of the perpetrator. A perpetrator. They look like this. They come like that. Now I know to avoid that side of town. Don't do this stuff over here. And if it starts coming, oh hey, it's this guy here. Do this. So that way my body's so fortified, even if a virus does come inside of me, like I have so many different compounds already there, it's a barren wasteland for it. It's already dead if it enters, in a sense.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to kind of piggyback off that. We say veggie back, but
Okay, yeah. Veggie back.
because I actually look at things like parasites, even cancer and tumors as good things. A
Yeah.
little different than your perspective, but I look at it like those. Okay, for example, cancer is the body's natural response to the whatever stimulus that you're giving it, whether it's toxic red dye or smoking or whatever. And the cancer it develops as a protection mechanism because what does the cancer eat? It eats toxic material. So then all you have to do is stop consuming or whatever being in that environment and the cancer will eat it all up and then it'll starve, right? Because it doesn't have nourishment anymore and then it'll go away. And I kind of look at the parasites as the same way. They only can thrive, as you mentioned, in an environment where it's hospitable. So it can show you, hey, you've been eating and doing things that are toxic and bad for your body. That's why they're there. But they also have the ability to break down stuff that your body might actually have trouble breaking down. So the worms and the parasites will actually make it more digestible for your body. Of course, then they themselves become a problem if you have too many, and whatever. But I look at it all as a benefit, almost like a symbiotic relationship. And then you get your stuff together, and then they have to die and go, through their other life cycle. So it's an
100%.
interesting
And
way. Go ahead.
that's genius. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. Like the cancer only comes to from some studies I've done in the past. Cancer comes as exactly what you stated. It's like a Pac-Man to eat up all the toxic waste inside of you, so that toxic waste doesn't make its way to your heart and kill you instantly. Cancer actually extends your lifespan. It actually helps you live longer because if what cancer ate wasn't eaten and it was released in your body, you would have died probably 10 years ago. Like you wouldn't even be alive this long. So people actually owe their life this long to cancer. Now, like you were saying, if they keep eating the toxic waste and the junk, you can only have so much cancer before you become cancerous. And now, bam, people are dying from that. They just never learned their lesson. Like, okay, hey, well, let me stop eating the junk food. No, they eat until they die. My dad actually died of cancer. He actually died of stomach cancer, but until the day he died, he kept eating junk.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, I mean, if you don't stop, then it can't help you beyond that. But it's like a last ditch effort, like the ultimate like survival mechanism that if it gets this bad, we're on red alert, cancer. But hopefully it never gets that bad. It's just that people stay at red alert for the next 10, 20 years. And that's whenever it gets bad.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, man. I already knew that we were going to kind of vibe and we had a lot of the same ideology. I am curious to know more about what your lifestyle looks like as far as you've helped people with their cycles, you've helped people with tumors and all of these things. But what does that process actually look like? I know it's more than just herbs and things of that nature. It's a lifestyle. So kind of help us understand what that lifestyle looks like.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. As far as the tumor part, they were growths and they were cysts. And I want to say that just because medically on paper they didn't get it checked out to say it was a tumor, but the lymphatic buildup in the waist leads to cysts, which can grow into mutated cells, which could lead towards tumors. So just to put that out there. But the lifestyle that I have people do is 100% different than what I'm actually doing now.
Okay.
Because as you jettison, there's different rooms and hallways in this state of life. And the main purpose of all this is to energy harvest and get as much energy as you can and that you can sustain, so you can direct it towards being aware inside of reality. Because the person who's aware doesn't get taken advantage of. The person who's aware doesn't get scammed, or the person who looks both ways doesn't get hit by the car. The person who's paying attention while they're driving doesn't get in a wreck. Every accident only happens at the moment that you weren't aware, or to the degree that you were aware of. So if your awareness grows this much, but the incident came from 100 miles this way, 100 miles an hour that way, then your awareness couldn't perceive it. So the accident can still happen. So you want to grow that level of awareness as far out. And then you have some sort of sense of like almost like clairvoyance, or even like precognition, to where you can see things coming before they happen. So that's the whole point of even doing any of this stuff, is so you can pretty much live in a reality that you are completely aware of at all times, so you can live in the most harmonic state, the happiest, the healthiest, the whole, and everything else. Now, with that, to get to this realm, you have to start on the ground level, digging dirt, pretty much building a foundation, which I ask people like, hey, look, if you really want to do this, you got to eat every day. Don't see me going 66 days without eating and just think that you can do what I'm doing. No other profession in the world would anybody just jump into doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like an underwater welder, like you want your license, you want to make sure that you can even swim. Can you swim? Have you ever worked with scuba gear? Have you ever gone deep sea? If you've never done anything, why would you sign up your first day to go underwater welding? Can you even weld? It's dangerous. There's sharks down there. So in the same way that you wouldn't just jump into being a professional skier and go on the Black Diamond Mountains your first try, why would you jump in to go 66 days and not eat? It doesn't even make rational sense. So I always tell people, you got to start with eating every single day. You got to eat. And then you got to eat vitamin A through mineral zinc, because that's what you're made of. You're not made of anything else besides vitamin A, B complex, C, D1, D2, D3, E, K complex, and so on and so forth. Everything that your body cannot create inside of itself or synthesize on its own, you need to replenish it. It's not about eating a piece of meat or a vegetable or like some fruit or whatever. It's you need specific things that your body makes to create its eyes and its skin and your heart, your blood, your synovial fluid, everything else. So you need to make sure that you give your body those compounds. Once you've done this long enough, your body will regenerate, and through the regeneration process, you'll come to the point where you're not hungry. And at that place there, which may take a year, usually people on this specific way of life and this eating style, within a month and a half, usually they say, hey, I'm not even hungry. Can I please start fasting now? And I'm like, I know you have to wait a year. They are ready to jump on it, man. They are like, hey, because when you finally start eating everything you're supposed to eat, you finally start getting full. That's the whole point of what all this is. It's not about like starving yourself and denying yourself or some pious self-denial. It's you coming to the point where you checked all your boxes, you filled all your crates, all your storage bins are full, and now there's nothing to fill. So if you eat, there's nowhere for it to go because you've been eating everything. And that's whenever you start moving from a place of satiety versus a place of mental willpower. Because if any of those crates or barrels are not full, that's where the what's the word I want to use? I'm going to say deficit occurs. Any deficit causes a implosion because there's nothing to fill the space, so it collapses on itself. If vitamin A is not full, you're going to start to lose your eyesight. If vitamin B is not full, the B complex, you're going to lose your sebum oils and your skin health, or even like the essential fatty acids. Anything that has not been full to the top is going to collapse on itself, and that's where these aging, skin pigmentation disorders, psoriasis. It all comes from because these bins aren't full. So even though people may fast, right, they will use willpower because that hunger signal is trying to say, hey, I don't have enough selenium. That's what that hunger signal is. But they think that they're just fat and I'm just programmed to eat every day. No, it doesn't matter. Even if you ate junk food yesterday, if you eat this way right now, you will not be full. It will literally turn off all hunger signals if you eat this way. So it doesn't matter how long of a history you've had from eating junk food. The moment you start actually eating right, you stop being hungry instantaneously. So if you're fasting and you have a hunger signal, it's literally trying to tell you, hey, I'm out of manganese. I'm out of iodine or zinc or copper. There's something that I need to make blood or my spleen or white blood cells or something. So when we fast with willpower, but we ignore it, there's a last ditch effort that can our body will just use. Really, it's like last and final resources to try to dig up to give to us. But if it runs off that too long, it starts eating away at itself, which just because a person lost weight doesn't mean they lost fat. That weight they lost, and I learned this when I was like 15 because I was fasting once a week, and I've been fasting for 22 years. So I've been, in the beginning I thought it was cool. I lost 60 pounds personally, but you also lose synovial fluid, hormonal fluid, you lose bone density, you lose neurocognition, you lose fluid in your brain. All these things start occurring because it's pulling from resources it shouldn't have to suffice you on your fast because you're rejecting yourself. And just so you can operate, you'll have bouts of clarity, but a majority of it's going to be in slight discomfort because your body's pulling depending on your activity level. So it will pull from your bones and you can develop osteoporosis. You can develop hormonal issues. And I discovered that part because when I was fasting, my gynecomastia actually got worse. The more I would fast, the bigger my breast would get, which is showing there's an imbalance in my hormones. So instead of using willpower to not eat, you want to fill all those buckets up, and whenever they're full, you're just not hungry. And the funny thing is, you can go 2, 3, 4, 5 days without eating, and you just never get hungry either. So that's pretty much the generic process of it, but it all stems from the ideology and the perception of why you're doing it. Because if you don't have a strong enough why, it's going to be meaningless. Oh well, Mikey's way was cool for a month, but I'm on the next trend now. I'm on the next fast now. I'm doing 32 days carne vegan. It's a new thing to where you eat both vegetables and meat. You mean just normal eating? No, it's called carne vegan. It's a new thing, bro. Yeah, and it's just okay, man. All right. So you really have to have your purpose of why, because if you have it, you understand this journey is going to be probably a century long. You're probably going to be doing this for 100 years. There might be some tweaks here and there, but you're pretty much on the path. And that's what it's going to take to get to this amount of level, because you have a growth curve, and growth usually happens immediately, but then it starts tipping down and it's harder to grow. In the beginning, everything's new. So you're just going up. But once you get to that high peak, it might take you 364 days to find something new because you've already discovered everything. And now the next time it takes you 735 days to find something new. Then it takes you 1,246 days to find something new. So now to get any new bit that's going to help you in this journey, because it's so fine-tuned, it's going to take you sustaining it at least for another 3 years, because that's how long you need to be to either prove almost your accountability to the process, or even have a long enough stretch and scope to where you can reach beyond where you currently are, because you've already taken up so much land in your walk of life on this. So you really have to get that down and be locked in and be ready for that. And the only purpose to do this is to actually live. If it was ever to lose weight, if it was ever just to get rid of man boobies or gynecomastia, it's not worthy enough. And you're going to stop. You're going to want to eat cheesecake or whatever. You have to want to do this because you want to live. And when life is the goal, you always have enough energy to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Lifestyle is the only way to approach this, because if you don't approach it that way, what you just described just sounds like a lot. If you're just approaching it from the standpoint of I just want to lose weight, I just want to do this, da, 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 that sounds a lot. And to be honest with you, there's much easier ways. If you want to say I just want to lose weight, I just want to do this, then there's easier ways
Smoke
to
crack.
do it. You know what I mean?
Smoke crack then, bro.
Look, I tell
You
people
lose weight. You know, so why not? Why not? Like, if it's just to lose weight, why not? Because you actually don't want to hurt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why a person doesn't just smoke crack. It's like, well, they value their life. Well, that valuing of your life and how much of it you have is actually why you have the extra weight, because you won't smoke crack, but you'll eat a donut. It's just as addictive. So, like, why would you avoid smoking crack but still eat the donut whenever the law of the compounds and the similarities in the sugar and everything else match the addiction rate of drugs? Well, because the way that you, in a sense, the way that the person glazes over it, like, they love themselves this much, but not that much. So it's not even a dietary issue. It's a self-love issue. People don't love themselves enough to do a lot because they don't see themselves as worth it. So anything you don't see yourself as worth, you won't have enough fuel to do. So then you'll start making poor decisions, you know, having sex with prostitutes and smoking crack and eating this and eating that. It's a self-love issue. The lack of self-love leads to the disease, and the disease is always trying to point you back to where you haven't been showing yourself attention. The obesity and everything else is always trying to point back to where you've been neglecting yourself, and it's trying to scream at you, hey, look, I'm going to break your knees because you're so fat, you're so obese, so you can stop, so you can finally look to see what you're doing to yourself out of all this hate that you have for yourself. Stop hating yourself. Every disease, every sickness, every issue stems from you not loving yourself. And the only true way to fix it is to fall in love with yourself. And whenever you do, it all leaves. It all goes, like, almost instantly. It's all a love issue.
That's a very, very interesting way to look at it. Your disease is a mirror reflecting back at you. And
At
I
your own
would,
neglect.
it's so, that's, man, that's extremely profound. Like when you, no, it's like, it's simple. It's simple. It's like, like you can't miss it. You literally, once you have that perspective, you cannot miss it. It's like, what do I need to do? What's my next move? It's like, look at what's not working in your life. Look at where you have the most pain or where you're struggling the most, where you have the most dis-ease. And that's exactly where you need to start. Yeah, man.
Because that's where we're uncomfortable with ourselves, whether it's eating or like a sex addiction or like porn, or if it's like self-infliction or money, like, you know, like, well, if we just go after money, it shows that we don't value ourselves. If we just go after sex or pleasure or porn or something like that, it shows that we can't sit with ourselves and we don't find pleasure within ourselves. So everything, if we have diabetes because we just eat a bunch of sugar, it shows that we're not happy with ourselves. Like, we don't feel like we're sweet enough. And it's funny because usually people who have diabetes are sweet, but whenever you really talk to the person, they'll end up breaking down crying and feel like they're worthless. So, like, everything is trying to reflect back at us, but we don't spend enough time with ourselves because it's this Netflix, Instagram, TikTok. Okay, we got to be on the app. So that way it takes our mental focus, so we can never get the black mirror out of our face and look into the reflective mirror to truly see what's going on here. So once we just take that out of the way and actually look, like, everything will be revealed at least. And if we want to heal, then we have the opportunity to. And I think that's the main thing, maybe. It's like, at least having the ability to, like, you're not helpless. Like, you can heal yourself. You can get past this. Actually, your disease, like the parasite and the cancer, is trying to help you and show you what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to take so much of that.
No, no. I mean, it's important to understand that, because when we don't love ourselves, like, you know, if you understand that your disease is trying to help you, you kind of start to have an appreciation for it. You stop the negative self-talk, and you're like, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate that. You just have such a different experience with it. And I think that makes it, like, it goes from being insurmountable. It goes from being an enemy, the fight against cancer, the fight against that. And it's like you're almost like partners in trying to uplift this being that is you, which I think is just a unique way to look at it.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Exactly. Yeah. So like instead of being mad that you have the cancer, understand, or whatever it is, diabetes, heart disease, there's 1,000 names of it, but it's all the same thing. You denying yourself here. Like, if you have heart failure, you haven't fallen in love with yourself. If you have cancer, it's like you see yourself as toxic. You treat yourself like shit, like trash. If it's this, it's that. If it's that, it's everything just reverts back to you loving yourself. So if we ever get mad at it, we're actually mad at ourselves because we believe that whatever way we want to shape it, we believe that we shouldn't have it, yet our actions say that we should.
Mm-hmm.
If you still smoke cigarettes, if you still eat junk food, like you say, man, how can I have cancer? This is going to blah, 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 blah. Well, the very act of us drinking energy drinks and putting on all these products and chemicals and everything else, women with fake nails, and, you know, I'm not against women who want to beautify themselves. That's okay. But when you put fake nails on and lipstick and glue on the eyes, and then you wonder, why do I have to wear contacts? Why is my skin swelling? Why do I have pudgy under armpits to where like it pokes out versus coming in, you know, being convex versus concave? So like with every single action, that's what we actually believe. So don't believe what you're saying cognitively. Believe what you're doing subconsciously through your actions, because that's actually what you believe when you put yourself last, or you don't value yourself, or you self-deprecate, or whatever. That's our true belief system. I'm not saying it's who we are, because we can change the belief system. It's very easy, but that's at least what we believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have what we have.
Yeah. So then this is one of the reasons why you know, meditation or prayer or just taking time for yourself to be with yourself is so important, because you can't, how can you hear the body? How can you hear whatever if you're just constantly drowning it out with, like you said, Netflix or sports? I mean, I think that's the whole reason why we have sports. It's like literally it's just a distraction. Everything is designed to distract you, to keep you from yourself. Like we are such powerful individuals, and we're so complete that it takes all of this noise to keep us from being able to, you know, deal with our ailments and deal with our poor relationships and deal with our self-love issues. Like we have to have all these flashing lights constantly, because like we really have all the tools. It's just like you got to distract people. Is
Dang, that is so good. I never thought about that. Like there are a million ways. There's how many apps are there, bro? There's Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, uh, whatever else is like Threads, X, Twitter. Like there are so many just apps. There are so many movies. There's so many streaming accounts, Hulu, Net. Like we are so powerful. It literally has to. They have to make thousands of different ways to distract us, because we are so powerful. It takes that much just to keep us down. That is a crazy thing. That is awesome.
crazy.
I've never thought about that. That's really cool.
When I was like 18, 17, 18, I was living in Delaware. I just got kicked out of my house because my stepmom and we never really got along. They were moving, and I had moved there to spend time with my little brother and sister who were just born. They were like 2 and 3 at the time. But I didn't. The family decided to move. My stepmom was like, "There's no room for you," and I'm 18. I got a job at Walmart, but they didn't give me much time. You know, I had probably like 2 or 3 weeks notice. I don't have a lot of savings. You know, less than a month, and it's winter time, by the way. So
Oh my God, bro.
where we're living, power's about to get turned off, water's about to get turned off. It's Delaware. It's very cold. It was a very stressful time for me. And I remember breaking down. I called my mom, because I'm kind of like one of them people, like I don't like to go home with my tail between my legs. Like I came out here for a purpose. I don't want to leave because someone told me I had to leave. I'm just kind of stubborn. So I'm fighting through it, man. Just lots of weird stuff happened. And I'm telling my mom about stuff. And she's like, well, Christopher, my mom is a devout Christian, okay?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, well, Christopher, this is just God telling you how strong you are. And I thought to myself, wow, like if I adopt that, if I really think about all the struggle that I've had in my life, and I say all the struggle is God telling me how strong I am, because otherwise I would break down. I wouldn't make it. So if I can make it through this, like literally I'm destined for greatness. If we have the ability to change the perspective on the things we go through and say, this is something, the higher power, whatever you believe in, showing you how great you are and how powerful you are, then it's so empowering. And because of that, there's literally, I've never, like nothing gets me down. I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to get past it. I know I'm going to get past it, and I'm going to be stronger and better because of the experience.
Dude, that is very powerful. That is awesome. That's really awesome. That is insane. Like I never thought about it from a couple of those different ways. It's like all this is here to resist you, to show you how much it takes just to hold you down. And even that's not enough because we can still surpass that. Like that is a whole new mindset even for me.
I mean, that's the inspiration from the conversation based on my perspective. Like, that's basically what you're saying. And
iron sharpens iron, man.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious. You had mentioned that you, I think, do you wear deodorant? Because you said you had body odor before. Is that gone or like?
No deodorant. No, I mean deodorant. Okay, cool. Let's just talk about that real quick. I do want to come back to like what you were saying at some point in time because it's so powerful. Like,
okay.
but yeah, the deodorant part. Even if you have natural deodorant, it's still counterproductive because you purposely have pores under your arm to push out. Deodorant's not deodorant. It's not there to deodorize you. It's there to become an antiperspirant, so you don't perspire. That's what deodorant actually is. It's not deodorant because you can just spray it around you, but it's a antiperspirant. So whenever you don't perspire where you're supposed to, imagine if you put a cork in your tailpipe of your car is going to explode or break down or malfunction. That's the same thing when you put on deodorant here. You have like little exhaust pipes, like thousands of them, trying to release lymphatic waste and everything else. If those things get clogged, it becomes backed up, and guess what happens? You end up swelling. So women and men would like, if your underarm is not concave, but it's convex, it's going outward like this, it's literally saying you have so much fluid in your sac that it's bubbling out. You're swelling there. And that leads to the flabby arm under here where like the women will have the hanging skin. They can have saggy breasts because of it. You have the same thing around like your midsection. So like anywhere where you have saggy skin, that's usually trying to tell you where you have a lymphatic buildup and it will bubble up. A double chin is the same thing. So you really want to make sure that you get that out because that's the stuff that cancer eats. So you can get jaw cancer, you can get breast cancer, you can get all kinds of cancer different places because that trash, it takes longer than an hour to leave. So if you wear deodorant all day, you take a shower, you get home, you don't put deodorant on, right? You might have like 10 hours of you not having deodorant on before you get up and have to go to work. Or maybe you take a shower and right after you get out of the shower, you put it right back on, you reapply it.
Yeah.
That trash never got the chance to leave your system. And what happens is it makes you smell. It destroys your skin. You have skin pigmentation. You start getting pimples and like discoloration on your skin. You smell sour because it's like you not taking out your trash for a month or a year or 2 years, however long you've been using deodorant. Like there's not many ways besides that to get out of your system. So now it's just like, it's kind of stuck. And now you start having thought fog and mental fatigue and you can't hold a thought. It's hard to even listen to a podcast. It's like all of a sudden now you need coffee just to focus. It's systemic. It makes its way into every aspect of your life. Your stamina is going to be down. Your mental focus, your IQ is going to be hit. Your aesthetics and your beauty is going to take take a couple hits. And it all stems from just wearing deodorant, whether it's the healthy option or not. Now, obviously, if it's full of aluminum, that's even worse because it can lead to Alzheimer's and stuff like that. But clogging up anything and not letting the waste come out will always lead to detriment. No one would ever clog up their urethra. No one would go to their urinary hole and put a clog there, or their anus and clog it up. Like, no, you can't poop. No, that's just disgusting. No, you let every bit of waste that needs to come out, because if not, you're going to reabsorb it. And that smell of from not wearing deodorant, right? That smell, that body odor is the sign that your body's trying to tell you that something's wrong. The fact that you smell is your body trying to get your attention with your eyes, your nose, your ears, or whatever, cracking, and your bones cracking, that's with your ears. Skin pigmentation, that's with your eyes. Smelling, what's with your nose. Like, if you smell, that's your body trying to say, like, dude, you have trash inside of you, because you should never smell. So I tell my clients, never wear deodorant, and they say, well, I smell. Okay, good, because you're going to want to use that smell to detect how clean you are. And the more dedicated you become, the faster that smell will go away. And then once you stop masking it, we can see if you smell, And when you stop smelling, we know that you're healed. But if you continue smelling, but you mask it, we don't know if you're healed or not. Will you get cancer or not? So it's really, the main thing is this, it's really important to be transparent with yourself and don't mask, no makeup, no deodorant, so you can see the true you, so you can observe it every day and take yourself to the higher state. If you ever wear a mask, if you ever wear makeup, if you ever wear this stuff and you never see your true face for a week or a month or a year, you'll never know where you truly are in the position of space, and you won't know if you're heading towards cancer, diabetes, or wherever. But you will always head towards sickness if you don't reflect. The lack of reflection always leads to detriment. So you have to reflect. It's very important.
Yes, I love it, man. You know, I told that story when I very first started my journey. And it, once again, this was all very intuitive. I realized I didn't need deodorant anymore after I had detoxed to a certain point and I started eating, fresh food and just not eating toxic stuff. And I told people that, and they just thought I was crazy. But what I always like to add to this discussion, because people understand this, is babies. Okay, a baby is a human being just like anything else. They don't need deodorant. They don't smell. As a matter of fact, a healthy baby has like a sweet smell to them. Like
exactly, they smell good.
Baby smell. Everybody loves the way a baby smells.
Yeah, it's just like it smells like homey and inviting and like happy.
Yeah, it's like warm, and it's like that's how I believe that's how a human being's supposed to smell. Like that's the natural thing. So we've had several.
Actually, maybe I ask them real quick, ladies. What do I smell like? Would y'all come here real quick?
You smell like a baby.
What do I smell like? So if you smell me, and what do you think? What do I actually smell like when you smell me?
Like a woody. Oh, it's like a woody type of smell. It's like
woods.
I want to say like cedarwood.
Cedarwood
thing. Yeah, it's like a little type of.
I smell like a lumber yard.
Like nature.
Like nature, yeah. What do you think?
Sweet spices.
Like what?
Sweet spices.
Sweet spices. So sweet woody spices, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they are not sponsored. They are not. If anybody will tell me the truth, it's them. They will like, hey, bro, you need to go. Women will not tolerate a stinky guy. Women will put up with a lot. Some of them will even put up with like cheating and stuff like that. But there's one thing a woman won't put up with. That's a stinky man. The moment a man starts to smell, like she lets her thoughts be known.
Definitely. That's actually one of the ways that I gauged whether, because sometimes you get in your head about this thing, like. We've been indoctrinated and we've been doing things the way for so long. Like I even got rid of, like traditional toothpaste and stuff. And you just wonder like, hey, I'm asking, my female friends like, hey, are we good? They're like, you're good. I never noticed anything, So yeah, that's
oh, yo, we good. And dude, I came from a place where like, man, like I smelled, I would sweat, I was embarrassed. If I went out, I had pit stains. But I also was bloated. Like I looked like a balloon. Like I was big, but I was like round, and that was me holding in all that weight. So it was really hard for me to give up deodorant because I would buy it I'd buy like a 6-pack of deodorant. That's how like I would buy it like people would buy beer because that's how much I thought I needed deodorant. So it was really hard for me to let that go. But now that I'm here, it's hard to believe that you can. It's hard to believe that you're not supposed to smell.
Right.
That's the hard part. Like, okay, yeah, we smell as humans, and like we're used to saying that people stink. Mm-hmm. But to even go into the mind that a human or a person, whatever word you want to use, a person, mankind was never supposed to smell. You can tell that people have never ventured off to even think that that's possible.
Right.
Because whenever you go to the wild, like. Even whenever you see animals, like they don't really have that much of a smell. Like it's hard to smell a deer. It's really hard to smell deers. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know if you've ever been to like, of course, if you're on a farm and there's cows on the farm and they poop on the farm, you can smell them. But if you go into the woods, because I used to deer hunt whenever I was younger, it's not easy to smell animals. They don't really smell.
Yeah.
So why should we smell if we stay moving? So it's a different type of paradigm. It's a different way to live.
For sure. Now, I know you mentioned you had a lot of bloating going on, and I think you had mentioned earlier at some point you had lost 60 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
What was your, I guess, what was your highest weight? Do you track your weight at all, or is it just whatever it is?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. My highest weight was 260 pounds.
Okay.
That was my highest. So I'm pretty heavy. And I track my weight every day, not to try to, because you never want to track your weight for a number. Remember, numbers are man-made. So whenever you're trying to achieve a number, you're still serving the God of man. It's not a number or a symbol, a 5 or a 7 or something like that. It's that number is indicating what's happening inside of me. Am I holding on to more weight? Am I releasing it? Am I noticing myself at a higher number, but I smell better? But at a lower number, I smell worse? You want to use the scale to tell you what's happening in your digestive tract, in the fluid in your body. You want to use it as an x-ray, because the only way to truly know what's going on inside of you is to look at your skin and look on the outside and kind of like measure the outside. I don't believe man was ever made to be cut or pummeled with x-rays. That it's so detrimental for the body. So you can use the scale to tell you what's going on the inside and how to work with it. So that's whenever I use the scale. I never try to lose weight. I never try to gain weight. I just let it reveal to me, oh, I'm holding on to something. I need to go use the restroom, or I need to intake more of this or that, if anything. Yeah.
So when you go 60 days or however long without eating, you're tracking your weight. What does that weight look like during those times? Is it fluctuating? Is it the same?
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, like today I weighed myself and I was 207 pounds, which is I gained weight. So yeah, it was just crazy because like I will drink quite a bit of coconuts. So I'll drink like coconuts, and I'll drink some milk, some like not normal milk, but I'll drink raw milk straight from the udder. And I'll drink some juice, but I try to stay away from juice, and so many fruit have been manipulated and spliced together, and they're not their original form. You know, being that sweet, especially like seedless stuff, things like that. So I'll drink tea and I'll drink some coffee. So those are usually the things that I drink. Well, I noticed that if I just drink just coconuts and I don't intake juice, my body will actually start storing coconuts, and I'll gain weight because I have an excess of coconuts. But if I drink the same amount of liquid, if I drink coconuts and juice and milk and tea and coffee, and I drink them all equally, I'll actually drop to about 201 pounds.
Okay.
But if I drink just one source, my body will hold on to it, because of what we were talking about earlier. If you're not having vitamin A through mineral zinc, your body doesn't know the next time you're going to actually have all of your vitamins and minerals, so it will hold on to everything it can, which kind of disproves the whole like, okay, well, if you eat less calories, you're going to lose weight. Your body will actually hold on to weight more because it doesn't know when it's going to eat, so it makes it actually more difficult to lose the weight. Not that the weight should be the goal to lose, but that's what's happening with your body. Your body can detect if you ate vitamin A through mineral zinc, so it will hold on because it doesn't know when until you add something new like the juice or whatever, and then it'll actually start letting go. So you have to understand like what you're not just holding on to weight for no reason. You're holding on to weight because your body doesn't trust you. That's it. Either there's toxins inside that the fat can neutralize, because fat is a neutralizer because it holds water. So you don't become poisoned by heavy metals or something like that. Or it doesn't know when you're going to eat vitamin A through mineral zinc, so it's going to hold on to all the weight it can just as a survival mechanism, because you might go a whole year and never intake selenium. So it doesn't know.
You're malnourished.
So it's kind of like a trust issue. You're malnourished. Exactly. You actually gain weight from being malnourished, as crazy as that sounds.
That's what obesity looks like. It's malnourishment.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I literally was just talking about this the other day. And so we kind of look at this as being backwards, but it's just forwards. We just were taught the wrong way, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
like that's interesting. And what I love about it is you speak in a similar language that I do. I think it might just be because of how we learned. So like when you talk to a child about whatever, you know, you could tell a child about a situation you had at work with a coworker. You'll explain the whole situation, and the way that they'll look at it and the way that they'll come up with the solution will be so simple and so obvious, and you'll just be like, well, no, you can't. Like, you'll reject their solution because it's too simple. It makes too much sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
because of who they are.
Of course.
We let our eyes limit us instead of letting our eyes, advance us. Oh, if a child said it, it can't be right.
I'm the opposite, man. I listen to
Yeah.
children. They're so insightful.
Exactly. Yeah.
What I learned is that when a child keeps asking you why, like, hey, what how come the sky is blue, right? And you start explaining the science, why the sky is blue, and the child is just constantly on repeat, but why? But why? But why? It's like what you're saying doesn't make sense. Okay? Like, truth is simple. It's not, doesn't need science, doesn't need to be explained. It just makes sense. So you could use children as sounding boards. Hey, does this make sense? Are they asking you why? It doesn't make sense. If they keep asking you why, it doesn't make sense, right? So, yeah, I love children.
And that kind of sparks a new thought in myself. Is like, I think when that child is born, because I did the same thing whenever I was a child. I would ask everyone questions. I would just burn them out. I was that kid. I would ask everyone. Like, I'd ask my parents, and then I'd go to their friends and ask their friends. I'd just ask every older person why and what and all these questions. I think when the child's first born, it's looking for purpose. Like, what's the purpose of this? Like, okay, yeah, why does it do that? But like, what's the purpose? Yeah, it does that, but why? So I can know the purpose. And I think kids are looking for purpose, and that might be the driving force, because purpose is what drives a lot of what I'm doing. Like, again, why are you trying to lose 5 pounds?
Right.
Is it because you're trying to impress a guy so you can get married? Because you think that the guy wants a skinnier woman, so therefore, because no one just wants to lose 5 pounds. No one, this might be hard for people to understand, but like, no one cares about losing 5 pounds. No one actually cares. If I changed your scale and you lost 5 pounds and you didn't even really do it, you'd be happy, because it wasn't actually about the 5 pounds. It's some mechanical thing in your mind that we've been programmed to believe that 5 pounds is going to change something, or it's going to do something. It's going to get me that job. It's going to make me feel confident. So a lot of the reasons and actions of why we do stuff, we don't even know the purpose to it. Because if we knew the purpose, we can actually completely avoid the process, or like go around trying. Okay, I want to run a 4-minute mile. Okay, I want to lose 5 pounds. Okay, I want to be able to lift 220 pounds. But if you actually see the purpose, why do I want this? You can bypass the actions and just get to it immediately. And you can start collapsing instantaneously to get your desires. Like, you understand your purpose, why, you collapse time, and you meet yourself there. That's how I ended up getting 2 wives. That's how I ended up vacationing the world. That's how I ended up, I believe, having muscles without working out, is because I found out why I wanted that. And it was always a deeper purpose than just 5 pounds, which, when you're not distracting yourself with actions, because actions take so much energy. It takes energy to run on a treadmill and do this and manage your weight and count. It takes so much energy just to lose 5 pounds. But whenever you understand 5 pounds isn't my real goal, you can take all the energy you would have put into the actions and put it in discovering yourself. And whenever you find out what it is, you can actually have what you want anyway, which may be the girl or the guy or the this or the that, because that action only looks like it'll work because we're viewing it from our limited perception. Because if what we perceive was true, then we wouldn't have the lack of it. So we have to understand that if we think we have to do this to get that, we also have to be unbiased and say, well, I don't know if that's true because I don't have it, which means I don't know how to get it. So my thoughts are, I think this thing will get it. But if we can view it in that space, we keep our vision open, and then we have more possible outcomes. Oh, you know what? I actually don't even need to do this. I can just pass go, collect $200. I'm already there. So it's that position of perception again. The reason we don't have pretty much the reason we don't have something is because we don't know. So if we think that we know to get it, we're fooling ourselves, and that's usually wrapped in pride and arrogance. Because if we did know, then we would have. But the moment we admit that we don't know, it comes a lot faster.
But this is a very deep level conversation, man. Like, this is this really screws with people, because we've been taught.
Yeah.
No, seriously, like we've been taught like linear time, right? And then
Oh yeah.
you have this thought, you perform an action, and then you get the outcome. And we've been taught that across everything. Like even it's reform it's re in our society, like hard work. Hard work pays off. Just something that simple. Hard work. Well, what do you believe hard work to be? What is hard work? You know, that was one of the first things I discarded, actually, because I was a big hard work pays off guy, especially culturally. You know, there's a lot of reinforcement of this. You have to work 2, 3, 4 times as hard to get half as much. Like that whole ideology, I absolutely abhor. But I want to work smarter. I want to, my whole, like, I think 2024 or 2023, my mantra was minimum input, maximum output. I want to get the most out for the least amount. You know?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So
that is it. And that's truly efficiency. Which to
For sure.
me, it would make sense that and this is what I tell people all the time is like, if you have to go to the gym 5 days a week just to get some muscle, intake protein powder, count your macros, do fasted cardio, and make sure that you do all this stuff, and all I have to do is wake up and I have the same amount of muscles, if not more, then technically this way, my way, or whatever the way is, take me out of the equation, this way is more powerful than this way. The more you need to input, the weaker you are. Mm-hmm. But our pride won't let us see the truth of the matter. Like the more hours you have to work, the weaker you are. Mm-hmm. The harder you have to think, the weaker you are. Mm-hmm. If you take somebody like Jeff Bezos and then the average Amazon worker, right? Average Amazon worker may sometimes work overtime because they want to provide more for their family. Hey, I actually need more hours so I can, get time and a half so I can, pay for my child's presents this Christmas, right? Which is honorable. Love it. Love people. But the boss man, who's the second richest person in the world, Jeff Bezos, may work about 2 to 4 hours.
Right.
Not putting in overtime, So we have to come to the conclusion that working more or harder does not necessarily equivalent to efficiency. Mm-hmm. But efficiency can get a lot done, like you were saying, with a little bit of effort, and it brings greater results. So everything that we look for and towards should always be heading towards efficiency, because the more a person has to do, the weaker they are. Mm. And we have to let that ring true. If I have to do more, if I have to do fasted cardio and split days and lifting weights and then body weights and then this and then and this, we're weak. But if we can just think, and just by thinking we grow bigger muscles, we're powerful. Mm-hmm. This should be what we're all going towards. And this is really what I'm trying to achieve at the highest level of life. Just speaking financially, there was a time I was working my butt off and I was barely getting any money. And then I learned these methods and these ways with the mind and putting energy in certain points. And then I started getting, sometimes I started getting paid about 6 times. Let's say for simple math, 5 times. 5 times as much in one day than I'd make an entire month. I start making 5 times I'd make in a month in one day whenever I learned the efficiency. Once you learn that it's not even about the pride or the arrogance or the egotism or whatever, but it's about what operation is going to send you on the highest efficiency, then you can maximize true power. And now, when people see my body, I look like I work out or whatever, I just think. I don't do a push-up or a sit-up or anything. My neural connection with my body is I brought it to such a high degree that just through thinking, you shape your body. Mm-hmm. You can get bigger muscles. You can get more defined muscles. You can get this and that. That's the highest form of power. God doesn't have to do anything. God can just think or speak, and universes are created. Sure. But if God had to go in and paint every ocean and plant some trees and this, that's still very powerful, but that's a weaker form of just speaking, and it is.
Oh yeah. This is actually a good point to highlight. So when we look at animals, right, like your silverback gorilla, one of the most powerful animals known to man, he's not going to the gym. He's not tracking macros. Right? Like, he's not doing anything. I'm not even going to talk about like eating meat and stuff, because people, some people want to eat meat, some people don't, whatever. It's like he's literally just living his life. Whenever I see these animals, and of course I only see them on documentaries and stuff, but still, they're usually lounging. They're usually chilling.
They're chilling, bro.
They're
just chilling.
They're just chilling. So it's like, obviously it's like obviously something's not right. We're learning there. Once again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. They have to try to teach us the wrong thing and get us doing and wasting energy, because otherwise people will naturally come to your conclusion. When you're a child, you're agile, you're limber, you're having fun, you're playing outside, you have unlimited stamina. I didn't get tired running when I was a child. Like,
exactly.
You just had it because you're doing it, you're living it. So why is it that when we get older, we associate that type of energy and that playfulness or whatever with children, and you can't do that anymore? Now you have to be an adult, right? And it's weird if you randomly do parkour on your way to work. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's what children do, isn't it? Like, everywhere they go, they run, they jump, they scream, everywhere they go. It's crazy.
I think because we as people are so scared about, like, oh, can we do that? Like Kanye actually said a great thing is like, if the kid's jumping on the table, everyone's telling that kid to stop, or like, hey, come get your child. But like that conditioning there, like boxes them in to where they don't think when they're older. So like in the same way, don't take up too much space. Don't be seen. Like, like back and squirm. All of the world is just real estate. I feel like I'm going to give away a big secret. All right, cool. I'll say it. All of the world is real estate, and the way to win in Monopoly is to buy up as many places as possible. If you can get the people timid and scared and humble and not take up space and like crunch them down, don't stick your hands out. Don't jump on that. Don't go there. Don't say, hey, mind your manners, mind your business. They won't take up physical real estate. They won't take up spatial real estate. They won't take up virtual real estate. They'll be quiet. And then all that other real estate can be gained without competition.
Yeah.
So whenever the kid's jumping around everywhere, wherever the kid is, you can't be, because the kid filled that space. But if you can condition that kid to like not move and sit, now all the space the kid's not in, you can occupy and you can take yourself. So it's a real estate game. It's about taking up as much space as possible. Mars, the moon, the stratosphere, Earth, and everywhere else. So it's a big mission, and I'm not saying that you should go do it now, but you want to take up as much space as possible, because the more you expand, actually, the less you age.
Wow.
The more you contract, the more you're hunched over and bent over, the closer you are to death. But whenever you actually take up more space, you stay younger longer, because now that's going to sound like, theoretical, but like I believe that the person is supposed to expand as much as they can as they're alive, and that's their purpose of life. But if you don't expand, you contract, and whenever you contract, that's when you're closer to death. Now, a lot of people stay in a contracted state, and they can live in a contracted state by maintaining. But whenever you expand, like me, I'm almost 40. I don't look almost 40. I look like I'm like a 20-year-old dude or something like that. And I do parkour up my stairs, and I even have like a little mat here on the floor that like I roll around on and stuff. Like I stay playing, but it keeps me everywhere. Like I have a couch here. I don't sit on the couch here. I'll sit up on top of the couch, and I'll sit on the corner of the couch, and I'll roll over, and like I'll do all those things, and that actually keeps me young.
Yeah,
doing it. So I final message with that. Like, people are supposed to take up as much space as possible, but if they have poor quality food, if they put on a bunch of chemicals and toxins and makeup and hairsprays and colognes and like detergents and cleaning agents that are so powerful that it literally breaks up fat on a molecular level, but they put it on their skin called soap, then you end up being tired, and it's not that you have to even listen to the conditioning of don't jump on the couch. You don't even have the energy to jump on the couch.
Right.
So you're supposed to expand, but you're not even going to be able to do that if you don't even have any energy in the first place. You are the Big Bang.
I'm thinking of like an oak tree. Just think about like the life cycle of a seed, of a plant, a tree, and how it starts off in a compacted state, and all it does its entire life is grow and expand, and it expands in both directions, right? Like the root and the canopy are equal. And as it gets older, it actually becomes stronger, more rooted, more stable. It becomes more, not less. And then the converse, what I was thinking is when you extract the water from a piece of fruit or something like that, and how it starts to contract and literally curl up like, you know, the rind of an orange or something. It curls.
Yeah, that's good. Oh my gosh, yeah.
No, like literally, that was the picture you're painting. I'm like, wow, because when the plant starts that process of going back to earth, it literally curls up like that, dries out, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Dang, that's crazy.
Like,
yeah, I've never thought about that part.
No, man, like the whole thing about like children taking up space and just basically people being able to grab real estate without competition. Like all of these invisible lines we have, we call it Texas, we call it Canada, we call it wherever. It's like, bro, the birds just fly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they don't know if they're in
They don't
Ohio.
know if there's a border. They're like, okay.
Right? There's no borders. Those lines, it's all fake. Right? They just enjoy the earth. And part of, I think, one of the problems we have in modern times. So you said you used to live in Texas. Texas, they believe that the entire world's population can fit in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means just
in one city.
Oh, just
in one city in Texas, not even in the whole state.
Okay,
but they can all live in Texas comfortably, like everyone has their own land.
That's insane. That's insane. So that shows you how much is out there. But yet, if I go outside right now, there's a neighbor 5 inches to my right, 5 inches to my left, 5 inches in front of me. You go to neighborhoods, right, and they're just stacked up. So if we're all in this compact area, what is happening on all this other land? Like, there should be people roaming around everywhere. All we need is a little water, a little running water, and we should be spread out everywhere.
Please don't have them coming and looking for me, okay, after saying this information. So, like, I have been traveling nonstop since 2020. I'm a very rebellious person. So, like, they're like, okay, everything's locked down. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go on a road trip. Then I'm gonna go travel. So, during 2020, I went to almost every single state in the U.S. And then after that, I went to Central America. Then after that, I went to everywhere in South America except for Venezuela. And then now I've been to Japan, the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia. In Vietnam right now. So I've been to so many places. And the one thing, Panama, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Argentina, I went close to the South Pole to like the walk on glaciers and stuff like that. Like the one thing all these places have in common, there is so much freaking land, dude. Like you will just drive for sometimes 7 hours and see nobody. There's big fields of open land that no one lives on. In Costa Rica, in Panama, in Ecuador, in Japan. In Japan, it's mostly just land. Like people think, oh yeah, Tokyo and a huge city. No, there's just like hours on the island of Japan that you just drive and there's no one there. And it's just a bunch of land and mountains and all this other stuff. The one thing all these countries have in common is they all have a bunch of land. Free land that no one's just there. It's just land. I've never seen no matter what country I go to, I've never seen a shortage of land, especially the islands.
That's insane because they will have you believe we don't have land, we don't have food, we're running out of water. How do we run out of water, man, when there's literally water everywhere?
Everywhere.
It's everywhere.
We're breathing water right now. We're breathing in vapor.
But somehow they've convinced us we're running out of water. So like once I saw the abundance, it's kind of like you take off those rose-colored glasses, those glasses from They Are Among Us or whatever that movie is.
They Live.
They Live. It's like you well, I guess the glasses, you put the glasses on, right? But
yeah.
It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I see the manipulation, I see the propaganda, I see it everywhere. And this is actually one of my missions personally, is to get people to that level of consciousness, because it's kind of like what you said. It's really not about losing a weight. It's not about reversing a disease. It's like, if we can get you to see, so then you're going to start expanding on your own. Once you're able to see, you'll start your own expansion. But before I forget, one question I have for you is, how long can we live?
Dude, that's a beautiful question. I honestly don't. I honestly don't think we're supposed to die. Personally, I'm not saying that I'm not going to, or that people don't. Obviously, people die every single day. My dad passed away, right? My stepdad. But when you really lock in and you have the energy, it takes an insurmountable capacity of energy to go towards this type of thought. But when you have the excess energy, you're not worried about paying your bills. You're not worried about like making like this month's rent due or something like that. And you have the space and the energy to think. When you look at it, you start to see that there is a formulaic equation to potentially continue extending your life, potentially forever. So whenever you operate and live in that, I don't think that we're supposed to live 1,000, let's say 1,000,000 years here on Earth. I do believe at some point in time, we were supposed to develop functions to where we can expand beyond Earth. But in the seed of man, how long can man live? I think potentially forever. They said that there's enough, science, right? Has said that there's enough neurons in your brain to live for 1.2 million years. Like you have enough neurons for your brain to live for at least a million years. But it's our, if you draw the lines, the imaginary lines, then you'll never leave the imaginary box. Oh, you only, like this right here. This is probably the biggest lie that people believe. Oh, we live longer now.
Right.
That's probably the biggest lie. Like my grandma lived to be 96. My Aunt Ruth lived to be 104. I know a bunch of people who had great grandparents who lived to be 90 and 100. Most people, unless they died of some sort of accident, no one was dying of sickness. Unless there was like a massive disease. But besides that, that's just a local area. Many, many, many people live to be 80, 90, 100, 110. So when they say, it's because if you say it long enough, people will believe it.
For sure.
If you say the lie long enough, people eventually will quote it. We're living longer now than ever before. Now, what's the lifespan of now? Probably like 82. Okay, well, 82 is your limit. Man, that's not even 2/3 of the way of where we're supposed to be I believe that we're supposed to be at least to 150. Forget 120, man. I think we're supposed to be at least to 150. But if you tell everyone, hey, your cap is at 82 because now we live to be as long as we can, you'll start dying around 80.
Right.
If you bring it down, you say the life expectancy is 79, you'll start dying at 75. Whatever you set your limit to, okay, the mile can't be ran in under 4 minutes. Like it's only a 4-minute and 30-second mile. Okay, then everyone's going to be at like 4 minutes and 30 seconds. But if you break that record, say, okay, the 4-minute mile, okay, sub 4, okay, this and that, then all of a sudden we live in the boundaries of what we believe. And if people don't want people living here, then you plant a seed in their mind and you spread poison and a disease of the mind to say, we're living longer than we've ever lived. We're living longer than we've ever lived. We're now living to 82. We're now living to 82. And then now people start manifesting and living that type of life. But I don't believe, honestly, we're supposed to die. Because if you are using every disease and sickness as a reflection and then you heal it, then what's killing you?
Exactly.
So if I'm moving and I'm seeing, okay, oh, well, this means I'm neglecting myself here. Okay, let me show that. Okay, cool. Now I'm healed. Okay, well, what's next? An open highway. Like now there's, what can kill you besides an accident? But we already spoke earlier that all accidents come from your scope of awareness. So if you energize yourself and expand your scope of awareness, you reflect. Now you don't have a disease. Now you can see and you literally have precognition. You can see things before they happen. What can take you out? You nearly become immortal. All you got to do is keep paying attention. And technically, you might be able to live forever.
Listen,
it's a wild thought.
Well, I'm glad you said it, because I back in the day when I very first started.
Don't have them come after me, bro. I don't need that type of drama.
Man, you're good. You're good.
I'm playing, bro.
I definitely told him a long time ago. My first goal was extend my lifespan, because
yeah,
I was.
How old are you?
40.
You're 40?
Yeah.
Oh my God, bro! You do not look. Bravo, man! You look like 20. Throw another number there, man. 26, 25.
Yeah.
You do not look 40, bro.
I thought you were in the 20, like the 20 around that same age too. So when you said you was almost 40, I was just like, okay,
Bro, we're almost like I'm almost there where you are, man. You are doing excellent. Let me just tell you, you are doing excellent. But I did not think I would have thought like 26 or something like that, 28 maybe.
I appreciate that. Well, I made a decision in my mind, and I think this goes back to your point. When I was 34, 35, I said, this is it. I'm not aging past this point, because I don't, I feel good where I'm at. Like, I still feel very youthful. I still look very youthful. I'm fine. I like the mature look. I don't have to look like an 18-year-old. So I'm like,
exactly.
I'm going to stop right here, and maybe I'll age 10, 20 years later. You know what I mean? That was literally my thinking. And it's more of it's more of an aesthetic thing than anything else. But
yeah,
I believe that the death process starts when when a child is born, until you tell them about death or they don't know what it is. Like, when a child experiences their first funeral, someone passing, their grandfather or their grandma, they don't understand that. They don't get it. Like, my grandmother just passed, 94 years old, and the children in our family, they don't understand death, right? So it's like, if you don't understand what death is, the death program never really starts. It doesn't engage. And therefore, what are you working towards as you age? You don't know to die. So I believe that, this is what I love about how I learn. My dad used to say, he used to play football, and he would be like, you got to give up the ghost, Doc. You got to give up the ghost, right? You got to die for the ball. You have to, forget about your body. You got to give it up, right? And I'm like, where does that saying come from? Because everything comes from something. That's not just a random, word or phrase. I was like, I believe that people, at some point, they just decided to die. They decided to transition. Right? Because when you look at death nowadays, it's always some type of heart failure, lung failure, like some kind of disease is killing us. It's not just, I don't want to be here anymore, I'm ready to go to the next level. But I think that, and even when we look at couples, when you have couples that have been living together for 50 years, right? They're married, one of them goes, and then 2 weeks later, the other one goes. What is that? Like, come on. That's a decision.
That was their very will.
My boy's not here no more. I don't want to be here without him. I'm gonna go ahead and go too. That's what that is. Yeah.
Man. And a lot of people even mention to me, like, when they hear me say, like, I don't believe we're supposed to die, they instantly think, like, oh, who would want to live forever? Who would want that?
Right.
But because they're coming from a limited position in their scope, they think that life is just, okay, wake up every day, go to work, go to sleep. That's what life is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, if that was the actuality of what life is, that would be mundane and gruesome. Like, who would want to just do that? But whenever you wake up every day to live, like, hey, what's your objective? Like, what are you going towards? And maybe you can have superpowers, telekinesis, psionic powers, levitation, floating into space, visiting other planets. When you understand, like, the universe is this big because it's meant to be explored, because that's how much time we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have enough years in our life. And I guess whenever you got to the space, there's no more year because you don't, the sun and everything else. But space is big enough because that's the extent of our lifespan. This is how much life we're supposed to have to be able to go and visit and see and tour. No one should just stay in Texas or even Delaware or even just Vietnam.
Right.
Like, you have all the world out there, like, and it's a big enough world. So if you're alive, like 80 years old is more than enough time to go and visit every single city and every single state on Earth.
Right.
when you have an Earth goal. But when your goal is universal, a million years isn't enough to go to the Andromeda galaxy and like go check out what's over there or here or this or that star or this or whatever. So like you need a lifespan to match the universe. So yeah, if your lifespan was trying to be universal, but you're thinking of earthly days, wake up and go to sleep, yeah, that would be hell on earth to just do the same thing for 2 million years. But whenever you become universal, there's powers with it. You're going to adapt and evolve. You were saying about your aesthetics, like, hey, you know, like on an aesthetic level, you look 20. But whenever we go to the next level, I think we might even start morphing into something different. Maybe like the Egyptians, like Nefertiti, I think her name is, well, like the elongated skull. Like we're going to end up looking different to be able to survive space or other planets or be able to do something. I've noticed even myself, like the back of my head is starting to grow. I would have thought that with the meditations, the frontal lobe would have grown, but the back of my head is actually starting to get extended, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of freaking me out a little bit. But whenever you see old pictures, I have like a more of a flat head in the back and kind of goes straight down. Now my head, like here in the back, is starting to bulb out the more I meditate. And it's kind of freaking me out a little bit. I've never seen this happen before. And it's kind of like weird. So I'm like, let me just wear my hat, you know, but you compound on this and you do it for another 10 years and then 20 years and then 40 years and then 100 years of this same exponential growth compounded and solidified on each other. You end up morphing into this different type of creature with maybe different type of eyes and a different skull and different functions in the body that have the ability to go and witness the harshnesses of space. Well, that's what a person who lives a million years would look like. You can't look like the normal human who's 20 or 30 or 40 or whatever and go and do that millennial and infinite life. You would have to seemingly evolve into something different. So when we have that excess energy shouldn't be like, okay, I have more energy today, let me go out and go like play, right? Although I'm all for like playing and stuff like that. Like I said, I have the mat here to like roll around on, but like that extra energy should go back into ourselves because it makes us fertile for, in a sense, evolution. Not like Darwinism evolution, but like the developing of new functions. But if we don't have the energetic capacity for it, our body will never trigger the response, so we'll stay human or man. My theory is, because I'm starting to notice my eyes have changed colors. I used to have brown eyes, man. My eyes are like now blue and gray. Yeah. I had brown, yellow eyes, and my eyes are now like bluish gray, and it's just like my head's being shapen differently. My eyes have changed colors. My muscles have gotten bigger. It's like a lot of weird things are happening. But once you have a full tank of energy, my thoughts are it can trigger the function now, because like your body's, even whenever you're not aware and I'm not aware, even whenever we're not aware, our body's always watching to see what's going on to help fight against cancer and everything else that we were talking about. But it's also looking at our reserves. How much energy do we have? Okay, we don't have enough. No evolution. Let's just keep the person alive.
For sure.
How much energy do we have now? Oh, we have a full tank and it's spilling over. Okay, initiate the function for the next level of evolution for your cognitive functions or breath holding or whatever. And you keep doing this and it keeps compounding. And now you develop all these new functions that give you the ability to be underwater longer or do this or whatever it is. I don't even know what it is, but I'm seeing it start to go in that direction, which is kind of freaking me out, but it's kind of cool.
I think it's, yeah. No, I think that's I never thought that's an interesting way to look at things.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Like literally a shark only grows as big as his cage or his environment. So
exactly.
There's the
what's telling them that? Just the shark isn't thinking like, oh, I better stop now. Let me just stop my growth factors. No, it is not. Its body. It has a magnetic field of consciousness that can determine the size of its environment. So that magnetic field or that Krillian field or whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to name it, like there is a magnetic field around us that we can feel when someone's looking at us or not. If that field is weak, then we don't have a good incubator to start developing the new functions. But if we feed ourselves the right thing and do all these right things, then that field grows strong and it even grows beyond. And I think when it starts to detect these further things out here, that's whenever the conscious field says, and this is all theory. This I don't actually have besides my eyes changing colors in my head.
Right.
When that field expands far enough, it sees what it needs to live in this type of environment here. It relays the message back to the body. Say, okay, cool. You got to grow this much. You got to turn on these factors, like the shark, like you're saying, like the shark. The shark, if anything, has an electromagnetic field because that's how it moves. It can't really see below it, but the sharks have. There's a couple studies on it. It actually has an electromagnetic field that's extremely strong. The same for the baby shark. If the baby shark is getting its signal feedback from a small chamber, it can't expand beyond because the field has to precede it. The field of the shark, the electromagnetic field, has to be able to precede the space so it can grow. But if it's getting pings from just, a tank this wide, it can never proceed beyond it. So the shark can't grow. So the shark isn't limited by itself. The shark is limited by its field. So everything the shark needs to do and that we need to do is expand our I don't want to sound spiritual, but like the frequency of our field and the space of our field, which gives us the environment and the space, like I was saying, we take up real estate to be able to start developing new functions. That's where it's honed in at. That's where it happens in. From what I've seen so far.
That is why what you're doing is so important and enlightening, honestly. Like, literally, if we looked at this from a different point of view and just didn't say, okay, we have the borders because we have countries, and if we kind of shuffle the board and start over and look at it, why else would they want to keep us in these little boxes called the United States and called whatever? By you kind of exploring the outer boundaries of the known world, it allows you to perceive how expansive you can be. Like you're going outside the little 50-gallon aquarium or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly, yeah.
Because and then also, it's not even just the little invisible lines. They also make the cost of doing this and just the like how the realisticness of doing it. They really program us to be like, it's not realistic because you need money and you need this and you need that. So when you don't have the mindset of abundance and you're not able to kind of break free of that part of it, you're thinking resources. Well, plane ticket costs $300 or $400 or $1,000 or whatever. And then I got to stay somewhere. You got to pay for that. How am I going to pay for that? Well, I got to go to my job. I work at Walmart. I work at Amazon warehouse. It's just, I've never thought about it this way, but there's a lot of places that I want to go and see that I haven't gone and seen. Even though I got the resources, there's a lot of places I haven't gone and seen because I want to continue to stack and create, I want to create this retirement nest egg. You know what I mean? So there's varying reasons why you don't go and see. And man, I think that I'm going to put traveling higher on my priority list based off this conversation, just because now I'm starting to see it a different way. Like, it's not just seeing the world, like just seeing and culture. I think it's bigger than that.
100%. What now here is the craziest thing. So this is what got me on the traveling path, or I'll spend X amount just to go and put my feet on the ground there. Mm-hmm. I'll spend, man, I don't even know how much I spent. I've been traveling for almost 5 years straight. I haven't been back to the U.S. in almost 5 years. I stay in a country usually like 2 or 3 months. Okay. So since 2021, I've been to a new country pretty much every single month, or every single 2 months, 3 months. It's been a lot. But what got me on this was back in 2020 when I did the road trip, because again, the lockdown kind of promoted this for me. Like, okay, hey, you need to stay at home. Okay, big F you. I'm going to go and travel.
Right.
I rented somebody, or I stayed in somebody's house on the road trip, and I didn't know who they were. They were out of town, so they put up their house hey, yeah, you guys can come stay here while you're here. I didn't even set it up. I didn't even talk to the people. Sasha was. She's the one who talked to the people and like got it set up to where we can like, they'll like put their house up or, like while they're gone, like you can rent it, kind of like Airbnb, but like a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into their house and I just had this urge and this desire to study engineering and aerodynamics and specifically propulsion systems and rockets, specifically like rockets and jet engines. And the people whose house we were staying in actually came home early. And like, I was there for like 3 days. And in 3 days, I just got this overwhelming sense to study rockets and energy and a lot of engineering stuff. When I'm usually focused on like finance, because I used to like work in finance and stuff like that back whenever I did. Now I'm semi-retired, but like, back in the day, whenever I was focusing on like health and finance and stuff like that. So at this person's house, I was there for 3 days, got this overwhelming feeling to study engineering. They come home. I get to meet them. Like, hey, what's up? Turns out the guy has a bachelor's in engineering. He's an engineer. He has like a 3D printer and stuff like that. And like he engineers different stuff. And he lives next door to a rocket testing facility. Wow. And he took one of their rockets that he found in the desert, because like we're in the desert, and he had it in his garage, and I didn't tell him anything. And he's like, "Hey man, want to come to my garage and see this rocket that I have?" And I was there. I've been staying there for 3 days, wanting to study rockets, and I've been studying like the engineering and the propulsion system. He showed me the rocket, and I'm like, "Are you freaking serious?" And at that point, it showed me just by being in the proximity of, you can absorb through osmosis these different frequencies of energy to adapt it into yourself so you can utilize it for your own, whether progression forward, expansion of your mindset, knowledge. So now I'll spend however much getting myself and the two ladies there just to go set foot on the ground, because I know that land has the knowledge of those people. Japanese people do like this, Filipino people, Colombian people, Panamanians, Argentinians, all these. I'll go there literally to put my feet in the ground, and I'll stay there for like 3 months meditating so I can absorb this energy. Since then, my eyes have changed colors. I have grown bigger muscles. I'm now sharing the information I'm sharing with you today. I didn't know this 5 years ago. I've been in health for a long time. What I'm sharing with you came through the absorption of the frequency of the earth in different parts of the earth. That's the reason to travel. Fuck a mojito. Fuck just sitting on the beach and like getting a trinket and like some sort of like, oh, I went to the island or something. No, That's because the earth has different revelation centers or like knowledge centers in the ground. And that's why different countries are known for different inventions and different ways of thought, because the ground is what it's feeding them the way they think. So you go and you travel so you can get that information so you can hone it in, and now you can direct your life. That's the only reason I know to travel. If so, it would be a waste of time. Like, I'm not here just to see Asia. Like, I can just, I've already saw Asia. I've been to Japan. That's the only reason I know to actually travel.
Definitely the first time that that's the first time I've ever heard anybody talk about traveling in that way. And yeah, man, I like that. I like that a lot.
I was just at that dude's house, man, and on all the engineering stuff came in. And I'm just like, once I recognized what just happened, I'm like, oh my God, there's more out there than what's being said. And I took it as far as I can go. And now I'm here, 4 years and, a couple months later, I'm in Vietnam. I have no desire to go to Vietnam. I'm the opposite, bro. I'm a homebody. I'm an introvert. I get energy being at home. I like chilling. I like relaxing on the couch. I'm like, I'm good like that. So I don't even want to travel. I have no desire to travel. But once I found out there's information in the land and my body can absorb it, when I tune in and I stand on it, I'm like, I'll pay top dollar to get that information. Because now I'm operating at such a high level of life. I eat once every 66th day. I haven't worked out in 5 years. I'm able to control my sexual urges. Like I practice semen retention. I may, spill like once a month or once every month and a half, or something like my life has really become more fine-tuned since knowing this information. It's drastically changed my life.
Wow.
It is wild. I never thought a human could live this type of lifestyle that we're talking about here. I've never thought of it either.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
We're rediscovering, man, because I think there was a time, I believe that we've been, history has been drastically changed over the past like 200 years. Not even that long ago, because they try to make everything seem so far ago. And I think over the past, just literally the past couple hundred years, they've drastically, like going back to the early 1800s. There was a whole different mindset. There was a whole different knowledge base at that time, and they've rewritten history. I mean, we've actually watched them do it in my lifetime. The public school system you're talking about it too with the Big Bang. Like, they literally have rewritten history in our lifetime several times already. So extrapolate over 200 years and look at how much. One of the things that I recently just really like. I research everything. Like, I'm just into like everything, and I'm thinking about the bells. You know, there were when I was younger, you could still hear bells, like certain towns, right? Where are all the bells? And then I started thinking, you
don't hear them anymore.
There's all these cracked bells. Like, what's up with all these cracked bells? And then I'm listening to my guy Cultivate Elevate, Matt, and man, that guy, man. Like, I love his mind, and we just be on the same frequency. And he's telling this history of bells. They got rid of tens of thousands of bells. Why? Because bells have the ability to heal. You could use sound frequency for healing. You could use sound frequency for energy. You could use just the frequency from the bells can do so much. And they were so powerful that they got rid of all the bells. And that was only just a little while ago. So it's like, what type of technology, what type of things are they hiding from us? And once again, and I think it's the Truman Show. They have to keep us so distracted, because like, I'm just a normal guy, and I'm just thinking, like, I just think about stuff, and I'm figuring stuff out. Like, there's nothing that I'm doing special. I'm just, you could call it a download or whatever. I'm just thinking, and I'm figuring stuff out on my own, just no research really. And then I find somebody like Matt, or even talking to you, and then your experiences or your thoughts kind of align, almost as if we all know that truth internally, but we've forgotten it somehow. Yeah. So
I don't know much about bells, but I do know frequencies. There are some, because bells are just a resonance, right? So like if a bell is struck, whatever chord in you that resonates with that type of hertz will vibrate. Well, you can also create that within yourself as well. So I'll do different types of like Tibetan meditation sounds to specifically stimulate my brain, so I can, because anything that's stimulated is activated. The moment, like if I pinch my skin like that, nerves are now activated in that specific area. So you can stimulate your brain in the same way by vibrating it, kind of like a bell would. But if you don't have a bell, you can just do this practice here, and I'll show you. And it will stimulate different parts of your brain to be able to activate. If you have thought fog, if you have brain fog, if you have lethargy, or you're tired, whenever you do these specific practices, it can shake your pineal gland, your hippocampus. It can shake your prefrontal cortex, your occipital lobe, and like it can help activate your eyesight so you can see better. So, because I don't know much about the bells, I do want to add some sort of value. What I do know is we can vibrate ourselves, and the longer you do it, you can vibrate your chest cavity, your heart. You can start clearing mucus and congestion. If you have a stuffy nose or clogged throat, you can do the same thing, because once you stimulate it, you activate it, and then that'll help cleanse it out and clear it. And the more clear you are, the more powerful your efficiency is in thinking or seeing or whatever you're trying to do, and even your smelling. So I'll do something like a, but I'll close my canines, whatever those types of teeth are.
Yeah.
And I'll touch like that.
Yeah.
And then it will shake different parts in my ears or my head, depending on how I close and open my mouth.
Gotcha.
So you can probably have the same effect of that bell by you creating this vibration yourself. Mm-hmm. So whenever you try it, you can feel different parts of your jaw shaking, meaning it can cleanse out the lymphatic fluid in your jaw. It can get rid of double chins. It can get rid of mucus. It can get rid of stuffy ears, like when your ears kind of sound clogged. And it can stimulate your brain. So instead of drinking an energy drink or coffee, you can just do this, and it'll stimulate your brain, and you'll feel like you're on some sort of amphetamine or something like that, even though you're just breathing.
Right.
So that might be the same type of effect.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But that's a problem, isn't it? Because, you know, if people understood that they could just do that instead of buying an energy drink or, you know, what you know what I'm saying? Whatever alternative.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that becomes problematic for the system.
100%, man. 100%. And it's crazy because like I post on Instagram and I give a lot of stuff for free. I give a lot of information for free. I even have like some free downloads on my website. And even though I give all this stuff for free, people still get mad at me and think I'm just trying to sell them on something. And I'm like, bro, I'm literally telling you stuff for free. Like, people's minds are like so programmed to instantly think something that even whenever you try to give them something for free, they think you're trying to like sell them. I'm like, I'm not even trying to sell you, bro. Just live.
Yeah. So
I experienced that a lot, specifically on Instagram. People are like, oh, you're a scammer. You're trying to sell your guide. I'm like, bro, I have free stuff to download. I have this and that. Like, just go get whatever. Yeah. Most things in life are free. The best things in life are free. Everything I tell people to do, like, you don't need surgery. You don't need this. You just need to breathe. You need fresh air. And you need to think in a specific way. You have that. You have everything. Like, when it comes down to it, I calculate everything besides just like spending money to like step foot here, right? To like get specific revelation and stuff like that. I don't spend $1 on health. I don't have a gym membership. I don't buy supplements. I don't take pre-workout or steroids. I don't buy gym clothes. I barely even wear clothes. Besides this interview, the moment this interview's over, I'm taking my shirt off. I'm, taking the hat off and like walking around the house, like, like I haven't spent $1 on health. And yet I look like my skin's radiating and glowing and stuff like, because you don't need it.
Right.
Everything's internal. So as long as you can like perceive it internally, like you already have everything, man. Like we have everything.
Well, that's the key. America spends the most on healthcare, but is the sickest in the world, right? So once again, it's that programming that you have to, you cannot buy health. It doesn't matter if you wanted to. You can't do it anyway. I'm gonna say
that's a good point. I thought about that. Yeah, you can't buy it. You can't buy health.
You cannot. That's the reason why health is wealth. Because, like, where's the value? Like, if you've got $1 billion on your deathbed and you're dying from pancreatic cancer, the $1 billion means nothing. You would give it away in an instant, right? So
exactly. Yeah.
When it comes to like just the whole ideology people have around scamming and all that stuff. I would get it from time to time because like when I very first started, sharing information, everything was free. I did consultations for free. I did everything for free. I just got burnt out because what people do is they take your information, I will just say your energy, and then they just run off with it. You don't get anything in return. It's like, look, like I can't just give my energy and not get anything in return. Tell me about your experience. Tell me what you were able to do. Like I love testimonials. Like that's my favorite payment. If you're like, hey Chris, I was able to do XYZ, reverse this, whatever. I love that stuff. But real recognizes real. So people who are on the proper frequency, when they see your content, when they see your information, it's not about, oh, he's scamming. I bought your guide because I'm like, bro, he's the real deal. And in a modern time, it's so rare. Like so one of the first questions I asked you was like, are you a breatharian? Like, I'm not really sure. I just, getting used to your information. I know that there's a thing called a breatharian out there. And there's one guy that I can point to who probably is the closest thing to a breatharian in modern times. But when I interacted with him, his energy was so low vibrating. I'm like, what is this? How are you a breatharian and you have some of the lowest vibrating energy I was so turned off. So it's like, maybe he's doing it, but it's like, what is that? Like, I don't want that.
That's a great, oh my God, thank you so much. That point there is what I try to direct people into, like, find out, like, what do you, like, because all the time, right, it's like, okay, I have muscles without doing this. I don't work out, right? I eat once every 66 days. And people are like, yeah, but where's the studies? And I'm like, I'm just telling you what I do. Like that, like this, like that is the biggest block for me. Is like, I'm not even here to promote anything. I'm just sharing my experience. I don't care if there's a study on it or not. I'm living this life. Do you like the life that you see? Do I have a lot of energy? Is my skin radiating? Do you like the vibe I put out? Do you like my muscular stature? Like, if you like what the person's doing, see what you like and go on that. But I find a lot of people are trying to specifically be something, maybe a breatharian. Some people are trying to be carnivore. Some people are they're like trying to be vegan or maybe keto. Just not because they actually like the people who are saying it, but because that's just what's said. And they're choosing it. They're opting out of consciousness,
right,
and making a conscious decision. And they're choosing it just because it was stated, not even because the person who said it was who they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm noticing a lot of people are taking advice from people. Like, if you look at the person doesn't seem that energetic. They seem like low energy, like whatever you want to say, low vibration or whatever. People is like, why are you taking advice from people
Right.
like this? Because if you take their advice, you're going to look like them.
Yeah.
If you listen to the person who's aged and withered and has heart conditions from steroids, you're going to end up looking like that person or having their problems or their complications. And this is like, see the person you want to look like and be like, or at least emulate, not to be mimic, but like be in that same type of energy,
Mm-hmm.
and just do it.
Yeah.
Study or not, like, do they have a bunch of energy? Do I look tired? Do I look drained? Do I have bags? Do you look aged? Dude, you look like you're freaking 20 something. Results don't lie. Like face filters, makeup, mascara, plastic surgery, okay, that lies. But if the person hasn't had those things and they're just living off their own energy, that says more than a study ever could, because science changes with time. And that's something 70 years ago, smoking cigarettes were scientifically good, and it was backed by doctors. Drinking Coca-Cola, scientifically good. It was a good meal replacement to drink Coca-Cola. It had Coke in it back in the day. It had cocaine in it back in the day. And it was scientifically supported. So science has changed. Just 4 years ago, it was healthy to take this injection that causes myocarditis. So like, if people can just like use their eyes to truly see, I think that they'll be a lot further in life versus literally seeing the fountain of youth in front of them, but saying, yeah, but show me an old person who's dying, who lives under fluorescent lights, has a bunch of wrinkles, and doesn't even take care of their own health.
Right.
But it's on paper.
Right.
Okay, man. Yeah, sure. All right, bro. Real recognizes real. You're right.
Yeah. Let those who have eyes see. I mean, it's just one of those things. Everybody doesn't have the eyes. Everyone doesn't have the ears. There was a time when we didn't either. So I have grace for people, and I also understand that I'm like working with toxic people. So what else could I possibly expect? And one of the things that I had to learn, and this is what I'm grateful for, is they taught me how to manage my temper, like how to increase grace and how to approach conversations, assuming that they have good intentions. Everybody isn't, even though they spew toxicity from their mouth, they're viewing your content for a reason. It's like it's almost like the subconsciously they know they need to be there, but consciously they're like, oh, this is garbage. Well, then why do you keep coming back? You like when I see something that's garbage, you know what I do? I turn it off. I don't interact. I don't comment. I don't dislike. I just simply get away from it. So when people are coming back and it's because they're drawn to you for whatever reason. There's something that they know they need subconsciously, and maybe you'll just plant that seed. They might not get it from you, but you'll plant that seed, and that seed will grow later on. But that's kind of how I look at it.
That's a really good way. I like that. Just know that they're most likely coming with good intentions, but don't know how to structure their words. They don't even know how to really, probably because there's like a lot of pride and arrogance. They don't even really know how to say, hey, I like your stuff without sounding like a sissy in their own mind. Like, I can't say I like another man's stuff.
Right.
I'll be a weak man if I say I like another man's stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that, that's a good point. I'm going to take that in. Take note.
I wanted to ask you, kind of one last question, and then also I want to give you an opportunity to talk about what it is that you do offer, how people can find you, and all that stuff. Because I'm sure that this interview has been very enlightening for people. They're gonna love the interview. So, well, the final question that I kind of had was, okay, it's been 66 days. A two-part question. How do you know, like, what sensation do you get to say, okay, it's time to eat? And then when you decide to eat, how do you determine what you're going to consume?
That's cool. I like that. I'm going to answer the second question first because it'll be a little bit easier. So since we talked about vitamin A through mineral zinc, that's obviously what is the best to consume, because that's the things I cannot create myself. I can't make my own vitamin A, vitamin B, and everything else. I try to get as many sources of that as possible that don't have any detriment. So like vitamin A, there might be something like kale. Kale has a bunch of vitamin A, but it also has a lot of thiocyanate in it. So I try to find something with a lot of the vitamin or mineral, but with very little detriments, like nutrient blockers or absorption mechanisms that will take the nutrients from me, cyanate, stuff like that would damage my body and potentially toxify it, everything else, make it toxic. So I try to find the greatest source of the nutrient or the vitamin and have the least amount of defects along with it, detrimental properties as possible. And I try to have as many variations of those whenever I eat. So like 10 different types of vitamin A, 10 different types of vitamin B1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And then on my eating day, I'll usually eat about 160 different items. So I eat 160 different things, but I don't eat a lot of it. I'm not eating like, let's say like a giant steak and then like a full thing of like chard or something like that. I'll have like a piece of chard, a tiny piece of steak, a little bit of that, and I'll have like all these different things ranging from vitamin A through mineral zinc. Now, since we talked about being on different places of the earth, whenever you're standing somewhere, you absorb that frequency. Everything has a different type of energy signature to it. So it all has its own type of frequency, which means the people who eat fish, if you study them, they will think differently than people who only eat plants, than people who only eat meat, or people who eat a variety of it, or primarily eat fats, keto. So like whatever you intake and the type of energy, because you could be keto, but only take in like a few different types of energy, not even knowing about macadamia nuts or pecans. Maybe you're just eating avocados and a bunch of oil. That's going to be a different type of energy that you're taking in than if you ate macadamias and pecans as well. So ultimately, to wrap it up, I try to get as many different energy signatures as possible, because just like standing on the ground, what you eat influences your consciousness. Usually those who are more carnivorous will be a little bit more aggressive than those who are vegans. Vegans, although there's a lot of debate that happens between the two parties, vegan people in person are very calm. They are very calm people. They don't usually get aggressive, while people who eat meat or animals who eat meat tend to be more aggressive. Since food influences the mind, I try to eat as many different types as possible, so I have all the ability to shape my mind however is needed in the situation. Some situations need a little bit more aggression. Some need more like being cool and laid back. So I try to at least give my body all the different types and varieties of energy as possible, so I'm able to, really map out the 60 days, go the full duration and everything else. But have access to different modes of thought, because modes of thought are what got me here. If I didn't have the access to be able to think like this because I ate a specific way, I would have been locked out of the door. I may not have even seen this reality to live. So that's that. And then how I know when to eat. I was eating once every 22 days previously. So I went from eating once every 3 days to 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. It's been about 3 years. I'm like going on. It'll be 3 years in March. Okay. So I've been doing this for like a while now. I didn't just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stop eating food. Right. I love food. I don't want to stop. Like it was. I got the call from life. I could tell life was calling me to like do this specific thing, because I wasn't hungry I just wasn't hungry. I'm like, man, I thought to myself, why am I eating if I'm not hungry?
Mm-hmm.
But I've already been on the guide and doing everything the guide said for, some years before that. Probably like, I think 2.5 years or so. So I came to the point, I'm like, I'm not hungry. Okay, I'm going to start extending it out now because I feel like it's safe. And my last cycle was I was eating once every 22 days. Well, once I got to 22 days, I still wasn't hungry. And I was just like, I feel so good. Why would I eat if I'm not hungry? So I didn't plan to go 66 days. I just said, okay, I'm just going to go until I get hungry.
Okay.
So 22 days turned into 25 days, turned into 30, turned into 40, turned into 50 days. And at 50 days, I'm like, I've already passed like 2 of my cycles. It would have been on day 44. Like, this is crazy. Like, I didn't even know if I was going to ever want to eat again. So I don't really go with an initiative like, okay, I'm going to eat once every 60 days. I go in just really reflect because I'm moving. I'll move and I'll look at my body. How do I look? What's my reflection? Do I have a disease? Do I have a sickness? How do I feel? Okay, I feel good. Okay, cool. Move the next days. Okay, cool. Look at my body. Okay, and I'll keep doing that. And it's brought me to the point where my last eating day was on the 66th day. And how I usually know to eat is I'll start to ache in my bones. My bones will hurt. Physically in my gut, I won't be hungry at all. I don't want to eat food. I haven't been hungry in probably like 4 years.
Okay.
But my bones will start to like ache and I can feel, I'm like, oh, snap. And the moment I feel aching in my bones, I eat because I know that your bones produce stem cells. And without stem cells being generated, you're not going to continue to regenerate and like look young and, regenerate your cells and everything else. So the moment I feel something in my bones, that's when I eat. And it's so far, last time it was 66 days. This time might be 70, might be 50, but most likely it's going to be at least 66 days.
Wow, man.
That's
See,
kind of how I know.
That I'm so glad that I asked that question because, this idea of true hunger has eluded me for a long time because I understand one form of hunger, which is really with grilling, when grilling spikes. Like, I understand that, and I know that's not hunger. When you hear people talk about hunger, and I'm just like, I don't know what that is. A lot of people say hunger is thirst. Well, I drink a lot. I focus on hydration, I'll say a lot. But I like, this is the first time I've heard anything that made any sense to me.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because, I mean, once again, I think it's part of the theme of the conversation is people talking about stuff they don't know, they don't understand, they haven't lived or experienced. So it's like they're just talking. When people have experiences, you can describe things, you can explain things because you've personally experienced it. So
exactly,
yeah, that's interesting. Thank you, I appreciate that.
I love that, man, because you're right. Because like if you're just taking what someone else wrote, all you can do is parrot it. That's it. You're just saying what somebody else says in the echo chamber. Like, you're just like parroting. Okay, this person said this. Okay, I'm gonna say that. But when you experience it, you can explain it from this way or that way or this way or that way or this way, and you can kind of like make a full spherical, just definition of the experience to another person who may have never experienced it.
Yeah.
And this to me is like superior in every single way. Like, you want to understand things through experience. But if a person's trying to take on too many experiences at once, they're like, okay, I want to become vegan and fast and do a water fast today. And also I want to quit smoking and quit drinking and do, like, you're going to be so convoluted with so many things. There's not going to be any stamina or energy left over for consistency. So the person ends up like failing. You need to go at the rate at which you don't gas out. Mm-hmm. But a better term for it is the rate that you don't forget. If you ever extend yourself further than you can remember, you're going to end up in forgetfulness. And forgetfulness it's like a valley, like a foggy valley that you can't even remember what you're doing or why you're doing things for. But you only end up there if you overextend it beyond your ability to perceive and comprehend. So you want to make sure that every step you make, it can be a millimeter, it can be an inch, it doesn't matter, just as long as you don't forget. That's the rate at which you need to, that's the, probably if there's anything I said that's important in this podcast, the most important thing I said is that right there, because that's what got me on this journey. I'm not reading from a book. I don't have a teleprompter somewhere that I'm pulling my notes from. I didn't come in with like, okay, hey, we're going to talk about this. Like, it was just like off the get-go, right? Mm-hmm. But some things I'm telling you is from 20 years ago. Some things I'm telling you is from 2020, like all this other stuff. When you when you overextend yourself, you end up forgetting, and then you have to reset because you're going to hit a wall and you won't know where to go. So you might even have the same thing pass by you that you've seen before, but you forgot you saw it, and you're like, hey, I'm going to try that. And then you start doing it, and you're like, hey, wait, no, I've done this before.
Right.
So then you're going in this cul-de-sac, and you feel like you're going somewhere because you're moving, but you're not actually going somewhere like directionally. You're going in circles.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make sure that every step you take is established in your memory.
Yeah.
So you never have to repeat the same mistake or stay at the same level. So you can actually progress forward. And that's the most important thing, is make sure you move at the rate at which you can remember. And if it takes you move one step a week, that's okay. Because it's better to make one step a week than make 10 steps in that week and then go back and forget everything that you just remembered or you just learned.
Yeah.
That's probably the most important thing.
You really nailed it. When you adopt the idea of personal experimentation and living and practicing what you preach and just kind of immersing yourself, you have to do it that way. Because like once again, like you're gonna forget, you're gonna implode on yourself. You got to do it that way. So what I did, and once again, this was natural. No one taught me this. Like it's like that's the way it works. Like you focus your energy on this, you learn it, you establish it, you move on because you got that now. Anyway, listen, I need you to tell us where we can find you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Website. What do you have available as far as like coaching, client? Like, what do you do? You know, give it to us so people can find you.
Okay, awesome. First off, Chris James, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure it's like 2:00 in the morning or something like that, wherever you are. Thanks for being up and hanging with me, bro. I really enjoy this because I don't get the opportunity to talk like this a lot, because a lot of people they want to know, I don't know, some sort of like if Game of Thrones is coming back on or something like that, or like there's a new Marvel movie. So I don't really get the opportunity to talk like this a lot. So I really appreciate you having me on your space and your platform. And I just want to say thank you. So that's first off, just thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Second, if anybody wants to find me, they can find me obviously on all social media at MikeyBreathes. So BREATHES, breathes, like you're breathing in air. MikeyBreathes, MIKEY, breathes. And you can find my website. It's theguide.life. So the guide, GUIDE.life, LIFE. And that's where you can find my website. I have some free information on there. I have some free downloads. I have some like $5 downloads. I have the main thing, which is the guide, which is kind of like all the steps that got me here to be able to conserve my energy. A lot of people, like, let's talk about the guide real quick. That's like my main thing. Okay. I have it right here, and I can show you. So there's a physical copy of it, and I'm making I'm about to make a second volume of it. I want to add to it. It's about 200 pages. And the main thing people get the guide for is because I think they want to lose weight, or they want some sort of big revelational or revelatory thing. But it's the small things that you do. So I wrote the guide because if you take on every single action, these actions will save you energy so you can think like this. I could never write down what we talked about on this podcast into a guide or a written platform because it wouldn't make sense. Like, where is he coming from with this stuff? So my first step is always to get people to read this and understand it's these small things like blacking out your room, breathing this way, taking all the toxins out. You know, people want me to tell them, oh, well, do a fast for 10 days and then do all this other stuff. It's the 1,000 small things you do. And you're not even doing them for the purpose of losing 5 pounds. You're doing these small things because each small activity saves you a unit of energy. Well, if you do 1,000 activities that save you 1,000 units, you can now take those units and start thinking in a different manner. And in that manner, you can create greater levels of success or relations with, you know, men, women, stuff like that. You can start to travel more. So the whole purpose of the guide is not like because one of my slogans, or like one of my things I say is like F health, like fuck health. Like I'm not about health. I'm not about the health. I'm not about being healthy, because healthy with no purpose is uselessness, and it's hell. If you have no purpose, why extend your life? If you're not planning on using your life force to potentially go into infinity and forever, you might as well eat the donut or eat junk food and crash out, because there's no real purpose. But when you actually have purpose and you want to live, then you want to use this to take advantage and leverage every action, every tiny little tweak you can to get as much energy as you can to carry it over here in this aspect of life. So once people get the guide, I say, hey, join my Discord, because with that energy, I'm going to show you how to direct it into whether it's manifesting or traveling or getting more money. I was able to become semi-retired by the age of 29. So I was poor all the way up until like 27. And then from 27 to 29, really within 2 years, I was able to semi-retire. And then by the age of 31, I was traveling the world nonstop like I am now. So it's about what you do with that energy. So I want to say that because a lot of people, they end up getting the guide and they think it's like a health book, and they view it like that, and they're disappointed because like they want to lose 5 pounds. But when they read this, it's about psychology. It's about the structure of life. It's about these small little seemingly insignificant actions that don't seem like they matter that much. But those actions are the very thing that's going to lead you to early retirement, having muscular gain without doing physical activity, clearing your skin, and just having the ability to potentially live forever. So you have to think at it through that lens. So whenever people get the guide, join my Discord. If you have the guide, you automatically get the Discord for free for a week. So come in there, think with our think tank and our think group, and then expand yourself. And then from there, I pretty much ship people off to do whatever they want to do. Like there's nothing to buy. There's nothing to do except for see if you can make it to infinity and find cool things along the way.
So I ordered your guide, and let me just say that I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not just a health book. Like
it's not.
You really,
a lot of people get mad at me because they think it's a health book to lose 5 pounds. And I say this all the time, like it's a way to live. It's a way of life. And they're like, this isn't the health book. This isn't the health book. And I'm like, I don't promote it as a health book.
It's like, here's one small thing you need to do. Here's another small thing you need to do. Do this, do this, do this. All of the
There's
things.
200 pages of it. Here's small things you need. Literally, like some pages just list of like, here's small things you need to do.
Remove this, remove that. But it's like, but no, the part that's so genius about it is, I did these things. Like a lot of these things, like it resonates. It's like, yes, you do need to get rid of this stuff. And
yeah,
the beautiful thing about it is, I do my best to balance. I look at YouTube as a funnel. People come in, they want to lose weight. My goal is really to manipulate, honestly, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. You use that desire to like get them into like greater life.
Get them in, man. I mean, why not? That's what the enemy's doing. The people that are trying to harm us, they do it. And so
exactly, yeah.
So I try to tell people, like, look, when you go down this path, so much life opens up for you. It's hard for me to just explain it. You have to experience it, because it's like you don't get it otherwise. I think you kind of were saying the same thing. Like, yeah, I lost weight. Yeah, exactly. I'm healthier. But like, bro, what's happened with my finances, I could have never imagined. Like the relationships I have with people, I never had relationships like this before. Life is so good to me now. And I think part of it is my perception. It's not like bad things don't happen, but I don't look at bad things as bad things anymore. You know?
Yeah.
So it's so much greater. It's really a lifestyle. And all I could do is challenge people to look for greater purpose in your life. You're not here to be, working at an office 9 to 5 or whatever mundane thing that you do. You're not here for that. Like, whatever you're doing, you should be passionate about. And if you're not passionate about it, there's more. There's more to explore. And being healthy is baseline. Like, there's nothing. We were born animals and stuff. Everybody gets to be healthy. Like, Like, that's baseline. That's not the end all be all. That's just, okay, now from here we can expand and we can see what life is about. That's kind of how I look at it.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I like what you said. Like, we're born pretty much healthy. Like, unless there's complications, like, everyone's born with the divine right to be healthy.
Right.
So, like, what do we do beyond that, you know? And that's why I try to get in the guide is, like, I really want to say this because people get the guide and they say, like, oh, this is just basic information. But then I ask them, are you doing? They're like, no. I'm like, that's what the guy's trying to tell you. Like, that thing that you know you're supposed to be doing, do it so you can go into a greater expansion of life. Like that, like it's trying to get people reestablished based onto actually living versus I wouldn't know what the opposing would be, but like I just feel like we as people aren't living. Like we're doing stuff and we're even being, and we put our consciousness onto spirituality or health or diets or workouts or even just trying to be healthy, but we don't take that energy and just think about life and hold the thought. Because whenever you take it and you go like almost like the bypassing thing, like we were saying earlier, like, okay, you want this thing and you think you need to work out to get it. Well, whenever you find out what you actually want, you could bypass the activities, get it. This is perfect. I'm getting in with this. When you energy harvest and you collect all the energy that you possibly can, and then you take that energy and you give it almost like you hold it up to life, you end up getting everything you want. Mm-hmm. Me, I wanted big houses. I'm in a big 3-story house with multiple rooms and giant square footage. I don't know all the square footage stuff. I don't care about the stuff, but like it's huge, very gated, safe neighborhood. 2 beautiful wives who love me, who I've been with, one for like almost 14 years this year. The other one I've been with for 5 years. So like constant relationships, not just about like money or something like that. Healthy body. It's almost like every desire will come true as long as you can collect enough energy and hold it up long enough. All that stuff will just sprout up in your life. It's almost like you collecting that energy and putting it up becomes the sun that cast its light on the ground, and then the seeds can sprout up from there.
Yeah.
But as long as you start bringing that energy back into the seeds and like, okay, well, I need a wife or I need a job or I need more money or I need that, it doesn't work. But if you hold it back up and you just focus on life, all that stuff starts growing up automatically, and it's fed by the light that you hold up. That's what the guide's purpose for, is to get you to look like this being here that's exploding energy out, creating reality.
That's it, man. You got it. I like literally, that's what I've experienced. And I'm not even dialed in. I know that I'm not I know how far from how much more. Like I already know. And just the little bit that I've done in my life and what I've seen, it's really exciting to think about, okay, Chris, get focused. Do more, like give it more, give more of that energy up.
Yeah, just hold, like you don't have to release it, you have to just hold it. It's almost like because that's why in the guide there's the meditation portion where it talks about holding the thought for 5 minutes. That's extremely important because the person who's discombobulated, you'll notice that they have sporadic and like irrational brain activity. Like they're having signals over here and they're seemingly disconnected, but that person might suffer with ADD, dyslexia. Oops, my bad. My phone's about to die, but ADD, dyslexia, and stuff like that. Well, whenever you harness the energy, you have neurogenesis occurring because of the vitamins and minerals that you're eating. When you hold that thought, it brings all of the resources of your mind together at one focal point, and you create like a laser with it. That laser starts creating your experience, and that's what your life is shaped like. That's why the vitamin A through mineral zinc is super important, along with the meditation portion, along with the breathing, along with the sleeping, along with it. So it all feeds into each other to create this, and you can't remove anything. Like you can't do the guide and create this life if you're not eating vitamin A through mineral zinc, because then you won't regenerate your brain. you'll be missing portions of it. If you don't eat DHA, like you won't even be able to bring your cognition to the highest function. If you don't black out your room, like, and black out everything to where you sleep in complete darkness, you won't be able to go to the deeper soulish realm to see the table of contents of your soul. If you don't do the self-love, you won't even be consistent long enough in it to even get to step 1, step 2, step 3. You'll be like, I ain't worth it. I'm going to go, do some other fad or something like that. So like all these things truly correlate with each other, and everything's hinging on the other to create this thing called the harmonic state. So now that when you think through a magnifying glass, which projects your thoughts that you hold. And if you can't hold a thought, then you'll never have a focus. You'll have a diffuse light, and the diffuse light does nothing with a magnifying glass. You have to bring in everything to become a beam, and that beam projected through the magnifying glass becomes a projection, and that's how you create your reality. And that's what we talk about here in the guide.
Beautiful. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, man. It was a pleasure interacting with you.
Yeah, mine. Truly mine.
Yeah, man. It's the third mind came, and I think we both learned a little something from the conversation, which was cool. I just want to encourage everybody to go and check out MikeyBreathes, just Instagram, whatever platform you prefer. If you guys did
TikTok,
enjoy,
Instagram. TikTok, Instagram, it's all there.
It's okay. If you guys did enjoy this conversation, if you're here, you enjoyed it. You here. This is, so hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, for sure. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.
Awesome. Later, dudes.